called his secretary into his office and instructed her, "Go and invite the head of the composition department, as well as the screenwriters currently employed by the company, over here." "Yes, Mr. Su," the secretary replied respectfully, then turned and left. A few minutes later, the secretary let in the person Su Heng had specifically requested to see. "Mr. Su, they have all arrived," the secretary reported. Upon hearing this, Su Heng's gaze immediately fell upon the crowd. "Mr. Su, what brings you here?" Jiang Yinglong, head of the composition department, smiled slightly and mustered his courage to ask. "Manager Jiang, I remember you are the company's senior composer, right?" Su Heng asked with a smile. "Yes, I have been promoted to senior composer in the company for more than 2 years." Although Jiang Yinglong was unaware of the reason, he still nodded and answered truthfully. At Tensheng Entertainment, composers are clearly categorized into different levels. A composer who has created one song with over 100,000 downloads and plays can be called a junior composer. A composer who has created 3 songs with over 500,000 downloads and plays can be called an intermediate composer. Only those who create 5 songs with over 1 million downloads and plays can be promoted to senior composers. Above that, there are gold medal composers and top-tier composers. Within the composition department, promotion follows a strict process. As a senior composer, Jiang Yinglong is someone the company is willing to invest significant resources and funds to retain. He is, in essence, an indispensable asset to the company. President Chen just sent 2 songs to my email. I listened to them and felt the quality was quite good, Su Heng said frankly. You are an expert in this field, and your insight and ability far surpass mine. I would like to ask you to help me assess the quality of these 2 songs. Is that so? Upon hearing this, Jiang Yinglong's face lit up with joy. Don't worry, Mr. Su, I will definitely review it carefully. He patted his chest, making a confident promise. In addition to that, there is a script. Screenwriters, please review this carefully and then give me a professional answer, Su Heng said firmly, his gaze sweeping over the screenwriters. Yes, Mr. Su. The company's screenwriters nodded respectfully upon hearing this. Soon, Su Heng had his secretary print out the 2 original songs and the script and distribute them to everyone. Jiang Yinglong's attention was immediately drawn to them, and he began to examine them carefully. A moment later, a look of shock appeared on Jiang Yinglong's face. Mr. Su, from my professional perspective, these 2 songs are of very high quality and are clearly the work of a senior composer. However, neither of these songs is credited to its creator. If the author can be identified, I suggest that the company immediately purchase the copyright to these 2 songs and then have Wang Yang sing them. Once the single is successfully released, I guarantee that Wang Yang's fame will soar again, and he may even be promoted to a first-tier artist. At that time, it will bring considerable revenue to the company and help it get out of its current predicament. These words coincided with Su Heng's own thoughts. That's right, I think so too. Since these songs were sent by Mr. Chen, he must know who the creators are. Our company's top priority is to acquire all the copyrights to these songs as soon as possible. Chapter 304-2, Original Songs. Mr. Su is right. As long as we can acquire the copyrights to these 2 songs with our company's resources, we can definitely turn them into singles in the shortest possible time, and then release them on major online music platforms for promotion. I believe it won't be long before we gain fame online, which will increase the visibility of our company and our artists. Jiang Yinglong nodded and replied confidently. Everyone agreed. Seeing this, Su Heng immediately glanced at the company's screenwriters and asked, "What do you think of the script that Mr. Chen sent? Does it have the potential to be a hit?" In response to Mr. Su, this script, from its creative concept to its story design, is completely different from the mainstream in the market. In short, it is very novel. But with solid writing skills and a strong foundation, one can either soar to great heights or fall into obscurity. We cannot make a detailed judgment in a short time. The screenwriter paused for a few seconds. Finally, she mustered up her courage and explained to Mr. Su. All right, I understand what you mean. If there's nothing else, everyone go back to work. After saying that, Su Heng then waved his hand at the crowd, signaling them to leave. Yes, Mr. Su. Upon hearing this, everyone could only nod and turn to leave the office. Then, Su Heng immediately dialed Chen Yang's number. Mr. Chen, I have had the company's professionals review the songs and scripts you sent me. Superior quality, reaching the level of fine products. I wonder who these composer and screenwriter are. I want to represent the company and sign a contract with them immediately. Upon hearing this reply, Chen Yang's face immediately lit up with joy. Mr. Su, are you sure? Of course. If the company can acquire these 2 songs and the script, it will be of great benefit to our company's future development. At that time, it will not only help the company get out of its current predicament, but it may also take the company to the next level. Su Heng said with a smile. These 2 songs were written by my friend himself, and that script he also wrote it himself. They only sent it to me after they learned that I had acquired Ten Sheng Entertainment. If you think it's useful to the company, you can use it commercially directly. As for the cost, I'll have him sign a new cooperation agreement later and send it to the company. Therefore, you don't need to worry too much. Use it with confidence. Chen Yang smiled and said, Really, really? Su Heng was overjoyed and found it somewhat unbelievable. Of course, I have no reason to joke about something like this with you. If I have any good songs or scripts later, I'll send them to your email as soon as possible. Then, you can arrange for the company's artists to sing them and release them as singles across the internet. As for the script, you should gather the director and screenwriters to discuss it, start the project and filming, and go to the Shanghai Theater Academy to cast the actors. Make sure to film the series as soon as possible. Chen Yang said directly, Yes, Mr. Chen. Su Heng was overjoyed to see that Chen Yang had made all the arrangements. Only at this moment did he truly understand what it meant to have a strong backer for protection. After selling its shares to Chen Yang, the company immediately found a powerful backer. He not only gained a powerful backer, but also resources he could never have imagined before. These 2 things are often the most indispensable for anyone wanting to succeed in the entertainment industry. Evening, Chen Yang walked out of the study. Yi Qingye, who was sitting in the living room, immediately got up and walked towards him. Honey, my aunt just called and said she and my uncle are quite busy at work today. So they want the 2 of us to pick Xiaoyi up from school. I didn't think it was a big deal, so I agreed right away. You won't be upset with me, will you? Yi Qingye took Chen Yang's arm and said in a gentle voice, No problem, we have some free time now, so let's go. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang shrugged indifferently. After all, he had promised Wen Li and her husband that he would tutor their daughter, Su Wei. It will pass sooner or later. These days, it's just a quick pick-up and drop-off, and it doesn't take much effort. Honey, I knew you wouldn't be angry. It's getting late, let's set off now. Yi Qingye smiled and said, Okay, let's go. Chen Yang nodded slightly. The 2 then walked out of the villa, got into a van, and headed towards the private elite school. About an hour. At the school gate, luxury cars were everywhere, and many nannies and wealthy women came to pick up their children from school. After Chen Yang and Yi Qingye got out of the car, they stood at the corner of the intersection. Honey, let me call Xiaoyi first and ask where she is. Good. Yi Qingye took out her phone and dialed Su Wei's number. A moment later, the call was connected. Xiaoyi, are you out of school yet? Your brother-in-law and I are at your school gate. We're going to pick you up and take you home in a bit. Yi Qingye asked in a soft and pleasant voice. What? It's actually you and my brother-in-law who came to pick me up today. Okay, I'll be right out. Upon hearing the news, Su Wei was so excited that she jumped up from the spot. After saying that, she immediately started packing her school bag, grabbed her best friend, and strode out of the teaching building, running towards the school gate. A few minutes later, Su Wei, accompanied by her best friend Lin Xiaoding, appeared on the street outside the school gate. Yi Qingye happened to spot it at a glance. She immediately waved to Su Wei and the other person and called out, Xiaoyi, over here. Upon hearing this, Su Wei quickly spotted Yi Qingye. Look, my sister and brother-in-law are in front. After saying that, Su Wei grabbed her best friend Lin Xiaoding's hand and ran forward. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of Yi Qingye and Chen Yang. Sister, brother-in-law, what brings you two here? Su Wei asked with a curious look. Your parents have to work overtime tonight, so they called me to come pick you up and take you home. By the way, have your brother-in-law tutor you tonight. Yi Qingye smiled gently and explained. I see. Su Wei then realized what was going on. Xiaoyi, is she your classmate? Yi Qingye's gaze fell on Lin Xiaoding, and she asked casually. That's right. Sis, her name is Lin Xiaoding. She's my desk mate and best friend. Su Wei nodded and answered truthfully. Then a pleading look appeared on her face. Sis, I need to talk to you about something. I'd like to invite Xiaoding to my home, and then have my brother-in-law tutor us both tonight. Is that all right? Xiaoding's academic performance is very good, even a little better than mine. We want to apply to the same university together, so we hope that my brother-in-law can help us improve our skills again before the college entrance examination. Upon hearing this, Yi Qingye was stunned. Clearly, she hadn't expected things to develop this way. I can't agree to that. However, you can ask your brother-in-law yourself. If he agrees, I will never object. Chapter 305, Su Wei's best friend, Lin Xiaoding. Team building ideas. Su Wei's expression froze for a moment. However, she quickly came to her senses, and her gaze fell on Chen Yang. Brother-in-law, could you please grant me this small request? With your amazing teaching skills, it makes no difference whether you teach 1 or 2 students. Moreover, Xiaoding is also a top student, so it doesn't take much effort to teach her. Seeing Su Wei's sincere expression, Chen Yang really couldn't bear to refuse. He hesitated for a few seconds, then finally nodded in agreement. Okay, this will be the only time, and there won't be a next time. After all, my energy is limited, and I really can't teach too many people. Upon seeing Chen Yang agree, Su Wei jumped up from the spot, her expression filled with excitement. Brother-in-law, you're so good to me. Xiaoding, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and thank my brother-in-law. After Su Wei reminded her, Lin Xiaoding finally came to her senses and said to Chen Yang in a soft, sweet voice, Thank you, brother-in-law. I'm sorry to have troubled you. Chen Yang nodded slightly, as if to say hello to Lin Xiaoding. All right, get in the car quickly. We're getting ready to go home. Also, Xiaoding, did you tell your parents beforehand that you were going to Xiao's house for tutoring? Yi Qingye's gaze fell on Lin Xiaoding, and then she spoke up to remind her. Sister, Xiaoding already told uncle and aunt about this. They readily agreed when they learned that my brother-in-law was very capable. Su Wei quickly explained. That's good. Yi Qingye finally breathed a sigh of relief. More than half an hour later, the van arrived at the villa's entrance. The car door opened, and the group got out and walked into the villa's lobby. Aunt Wang, have you prepared dinner yet? Yi Qingye checked the time and then asked her aunt. Miss Yi, the rice in the pot is cooked, and the dishes are ready. If you're hungry, I can start cooking right now. Aunt Wang replied politely. Upon hearing this, Yi Qingye's eyes lit up. She immediately took Chen Yang's arm, her tone slightly coquettish, and said, Honey, I still want to eat your cooking. Why don't you go to the trouble of cooking us a delicious meal yourself? Okay, anyway, it's a small matter for me. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang readily agreed. Xiaoding, you're in for a treat tonight. You have no idea how delicious my brother-in-law's cooking is. I guarantee it will taste even better than what hotel chefs make. Su Wei leaned close to her best friend Lin Xiaoding's ear and whispered something. Really, your brother-in-law can actually cook? Lin Xiaoding looked surprised. In her opinion, Chen Yang was incredibly handsome, had a powerful aura, and always had a private car and bodyguards to pick him up and drop him off, indicating that he was either rich or noble. Such people are often in high positions and live a life of luxury. It can be said that their food, clothing, and daily necessities were all taken care of by dedicated staff. It's unbelievable that she can cook. Of course, my sister told me that my brother-in-law is exceptionally talented. No matter what skill you're learning, the efficiency is extremely high. At first, my sister didn't know how to cook, so my brother-in-law spent time and effort researching how to cook delicious food for her. As a result, the food became more and more delicious, and his cooking skills became more and more exquisite. Without realizing it, I've surpassed the level of a hotel chef. I didn't believe it at first, but last night my brother-in-law cooked 2 dishes, and the taste was so different from my mom's. It's fair to say they're not even in the same league, Su Wei said with a serious expression. Lin Xiaoding was still clearly in disbelief. However, she looked at Chen Yang's cooking with a newfound anticipation. Chen Yang casually said to Yi Qingye, Wife, why don't you sit with Xiao and her classmate in the living room for a while? I'll be able to cook the dishes soon. Okay, honey. Yi Qingye nodded with a smile. Immediately afterwards, Chen Yang strode into the kitchen. With his masterful knife skills and culinary expertise, Chen Yang prepared a 5-dish meal with meat and vegetables and a soup in less than an hour. Chen Yang then asked Aunt Wang to help take the dishes out and place them on the dining table. Soon, a table of delicious dishes, with perfect color, aroma, and taste, appeared in front of them. Wife Xiaoding, don't just stand there, sit down and let's eat. Chen Yang took off his scarf and came out of the kitchen. With a faint smile, he addressed Yi Qingye, Su Wei, and Lin Xiaoding. Honey, you've worked so hard. Here, this chicken wing is my reward for you. Yi Qingye smiled gently. She knew that Chen Yang loved her very much, and even when he was busy, he was willing to cook delicious meals for her himself. Therefore, she was deeply moved and wanted to show her thoughtfulness and care for Chen Yang in this way. Upon seeing this, Chen Yang couldn't suppress the smile on his face. Thank you, honey. Xiao, your sister and brother-in-law are so loving. I feel like I'm already full just from watching them flaunt their love, even though I haven't eaten yet. Lin Xiaoding leaned closer to Su Wei and whispered, You finally figured it out? I never expected that my sister, who is usually so aloof, would be such a love-struck person. Once she has a boyfriend, she doesn't care about the occasion when it comes to showing off their affection. What's even more infuriating is that my brother-in-law just loves to spoil her. If you ask me, they're a match made in heaven. Su Wei shrugged helplessly. Although there was a hint of bitterness in his words, if you listened carefully, you could tell that he was mostly envious. After all, every girl has a Prince Charming in her heart, hoping that he will love her unconditionally. Su Wei was very popular at school and had many suitors. But those people were all immature young boys, childish and boring. There is simply no comparison between the two, and a mature and steady man like Chen Yang. I can tell. Lin Xiaoding nodded with a smile. They muttered a few words to each other privately. Su Wei then urged Lin Xiaoding to start eating and savor Chen Yang's cooking. Lin Xiaoding didn't stand on ceremony, picked up a slice of beef and put it in her mouth, eating it heartily. The next second, she was captivated by the aroma. So delicious. It's really so delicious. Xiao Wei, this is the best and most delicious beef I've ever eaten in my entire life. You weren't lying to me after all. Upon hearing this, Su Wei replied with a smile. That's right. My brother-in-law's cooking skills are so good that everyone who has tried it raves about it. Yi Qingya lowered her head and began to eat heartily. Everyone thoroughly enjoyed the meal. After the meal, Aunt Wang cut a fruit platter so everyone could quench their thirst. After eating and drinking to our heart's content, we rested for nearly 20 minutes. Su Wei and Lin Xiaoding entered the room. The two women each presented Chen Yang with the questions that were troubling them and the knowledge points they were weak in. Chen Yang welcomes all who come. We answered their questions one by one in the most efficient and easy-to-understand way. At the same time, it provides multiple solutions and explains the problem-solving ideas and techniques in detail. Host detected giving lectures to Su Wei and Lin Xiaoding. Lecturer skill proficiency plus 500. Instructor skills basic level 3,500. Su Wei and Lin Xiaoding are both academic high achievers with excellent intelligence. Now, with the added support of Chen Yang's junior lecturer skills, their understanding, mastery, and application of knowledge have been significantly improved. Therefore, they could clearly feel that after Chen Yang's explanation, those problems that had given them headaches, confusion, and incomprehension were no longer a problem. By peeling back the layers, it becomes simpler and simpler. Brother-in-law, you're amazing. After your explanation, I feel that these difficult problems have become much easier. Now I can not only solve them, but my answering efficiency has also increased by almost a third. All of this is thanks to you, Su Wei said to Chen Yang with an excited expression. Zaya, you are very smart and have a very solid grasp of all kinds of knowledge points. I'm just giving you some pointers from the sidelines, and you'll immediately be able to apply what you've learned to other situations and develop a solution to the problem. I believe that if you continue to review at this pace, your ability to analyze and accurately answer essay questions will improve significantly during the college entrance examination. At that time, your grades will definitely improve significantly. And Xiaoding, your comprehension and problem-solving skills are outstanding. With just a little guidance from me, your efficiency in improving will be no less than Xiao's. Chen Yang smiled slightly and praised him generously. It's all thanks to my brother-in-law's excellent teaching. At first, Lin Xiaoding thought Su Wei was exaggerating and had doubts about Chen Yang's teaching ability. After all, it's about both Su Wei's and Lin Xiaoding's families. If they wanted, they could hire all sorts of top teachers to improve their academic tutoring. However, only by gaining a deeper understanding of Chen Yang's teaching methods can one truly grasp this. Only then will they truly realize just how strong Chen Yang's teaching abilities are. This is an effect that other top teachers cannot achieve. 2 hours of tutoring, Su Wei and Lin Xiaoding gained a lot. They had a feeling that as long as they continued to review according to Chen Yang's pace and plan, they would succeed. During the college entrance examination, their total score can be improved by several tens of points. A week later, the renovation of the office space downstairs at Qingyang Financial Investment Company has been completed, doubling the company's office area. The company's staff size has also increased again, reaching 120 people. It is no longer a startup, but a large company with a huge reputation in the market, which is sought after by people in the financial industry. According to industry insiders, the salaries and benefits offered by Qingyang Financial Investment Company are comparable to those of top financial institutions in the market. Even core members receive unimaginably generous compensation and bonuses. In addition, Qingyang Financial Investment Company's reputation in Shanghai's financial circle attracted many people from other companies to submit their resumes. Anyone who is successfully hired will decisively leave their original company the next day. It is worth mentioning, Tensheng Entertainment Company is also thriving. 2 songs written by Chen Yang himself were given to Wang Yang, a second-tier artist, to sing, and were uploaded to major online platforms after being recorded in a professional recording studio and produced by recording engineers. Just 2 days after its release, it immediately climbed into the top 30 of the original new song chart. In the following 3 days, it soared even higher, breaking into the top 10 of the new song chart and becoming the hottest song of the month. As a result, artist Wang Yang became popular again. Both the number of followers on social media platforms and the level of popularity have reached a whole new level. Everything is thriving in a positive way. Certainly, the most crucial point is that Chen Yang's personal strength has been significantly improved, especially the Bajiquan that Chen Yang learned from the Jiang Family Martial Arts School. After a week, it was directly promoted to advanced level, and the Bagua Yulong Palm was even promoted to master level. Advanced Bajiquan, 2001-0000. Master level Bagua Dragon Palm. That afternoon, before leaving get off work, Chen Yang called Lin Tian and Ma Wenji to his office. President Chen, Lin Tian and Ma Wenji stood in front of Chen Yang and greeted him respectfully. Sit. Chen Yang sat in the boss's chair and waved to Lin Tian and Ma Wenji. Upon hearing this, Lin Tian and Ma Wenji sat down in the chairs in front of the desk. I called you two over mainly to discuss the company team building activity. To date, the company's performance has been steadily improving. Although the investment department deserves the majority of the credit, I have seen everyone's hard work. Therefore, I would like to take advantage of the weekend to arrange a team building activity for the company's many employees. On the one hand, it's to give everyone a reward for their hard work. On the other hand, we also want to enhance their sense of belonging and cohesion within the company through this activity. Moreover, this is the first formal team-building activity we've held since our company was founded. Chen Yang looked at Lin Tian and Ma Wenji and said with a faint smile, Mr. Chen, generally speaking, large companies go to tourist resorts, seaside homestays, or rafting activities for team building on weekends. Which method do you prefer? Ma Wenji's eyes darted around, and he immediately realized what was going on. So he told Chen Yang what he had said. The company currently has over 100 employees, which is quite a large size. Therefore, regular team-building activities are no longer interesting. My personal idea is to charter a cruise ship that can hold hundreds of people and go out to sea for a couple of days. We can install some entertainment facilities or add sea fishing equipment on the cruise ship so that everyone can choose freely. Chen Yang hesitated for a few seconds before slowly speaking. Charter a cruise ship, go out to sea. After hearing Chen Yang's advice, Ma Wenji couldn't help but gasp. He never expected his boss to be so generous. They actually wanted to charter the entire yacht, Yulong, and take their company employees out to sea for fun. Such benefits are typically reserved for the core senior management of any financial company. After all, the expenses are quite substantial. No other financial company on the market could offer such generous benefits to all its employees. Mr. Chen, but wouldn't this make the company's expenses too high? Lin Tianxia realized this and spoke. It doesn't matter. Although this activity is quite expensive, it truly benefits everyone. What I want is to be innovative and stand out from other companies. If the company makes money but the lower-level employees can't benefit from it, then it just means that my vision is not big enough. In that case, no one will be willing to serve me in the future. As the saying goes, 1,000 pieces of gold can buy a horse's bones. I want to use this team-building activity to tell everyone that in my company, as long as you are talented and capable, the company will never treat you unfairly. Chen Yang shrugged, looking confident. Since Mr. Chen has made his decision, I will contact the cruise company later to discuss the specific details. Ma Wenji is very smart. After working together for a while, he had figured out Chen Yang's style of doing things. Decisive, swift, and a man of his word. Once Chen Yang has made a decision, no one can change it. And the results have shown that every decision Chen Yang made was well thought out and ultimately achieved remarkable results. Therefore, Ma Wenji had long been a supporter of Chen Yang's decisions. Chapter 306, Renting a Cruise Ship, 2 Days at Sea. In the blink of an eye, it was Friday afternoon. All employees at their workstations soon received an internal notification. With General Manager Chen's approval, the company will be holding a team-building activity over the weekend of tomorrow and the day after, which will be a 2-day cruise at sea. In principle, everyone should be present, but if there is any urgent matter, you can ask your department leader for leave. The company will then convert this team-building activity into a bonus, which will be paid together with next month's salary. Upon receiving this message, each department head must immediately compile a list of personnel and then submit it to General Manager Ma. The news immediately caused a stir within the company. Holy crap, the company actually organized a team-building activity, and it's even a 2-day cruise at sea. That's incredibly generous. Who can argue with that? I worked at other companies for a few years before, and the team-building activities were either just finding a random place for a picnic and camping trip, or renting a guest house by the sea. It was old-fashioned and boring, and the company didn't spend much money on it. I never expected that our company, which has only been established for a few months, would be so generous, chartering a cruise ship to take all the employees out to sea for fun. I knew it. There's a bright future with General Manager Chen. Not only are the salaries generous, but the bonuses and team-building activities are also unmatched by other companies. If you ask me, it's all thanks to our CEO Chen for his vision. When the company makes big money, even we low-level employees can get a share. A friend of mine used to brag to me about how great his company was. Now, in comparison, our company's benefits are just as good. Most importantly, our company has only been established for a few months. If we wait a few more years, until the company grows bigger and rivals those established financial firms in Shanghai, then our team-building activities might just involve taking us on an overseas trip. Inside the boss's office, Mr. Chen, the headcount is in. A total of 118 people signed up for this team-building activity. 5 of them had to take leave due to important matters. Ma Wenji stood in front of Chen Yang, holding a report in his hand, and reported earnestly. "Great, how's the contact with the cruise company going?" Chen Yang nodded and asked casually. "Everything is arranged. They will send a bus fleet to the company building at 8:00 a.m. tomorrow. We only need to bring our belongings, and the driver will take us to the pier after we get on the bus. The cruise ship is docked at the pier. We just need to follow the staff's instructions to board the cruise ship." Ma Wenji replied respectfully, "Okay, you're in charge of the personnel count and boarding. In addition, have someone prepare more food, drinks, and alcohol. Since there are so many people eating and drinking, the amount will definitely be considerable." Chen Yang didn't forget to give some instructions. "Yes, Mr. Chen." Ma Wenji readily agreed. Evening. Overseas Chinese town villas. The hall was brightly lit. Chen Yang took Yiqingya's hand and sat down on the sofa. "Honey, I have some good news to share with you." "What good news?" Upon hearing this, Yiqingya's beautiful eyes flashed with curiosity, and she asked a question. "Our company is planning a team-building activity over the next 2 days, which will be a 2-day cruise at sea. I want to take you there so you can relax. What do you think?" Chen Yang smiled faintly and said to Yiqingya, "Sure, of course, no problem." Upon hearing this news, Yiqingya's face immediately lit up with joy. After all, she had been quite bored during the few days she stayed at home. "Honey, since you've chosen the weekend, could you invite Zai along too? She's been studying so hard lately to improve her grades. This is a rare opportunity, so let her relax and get some rest." Yiqingya suddenly thought of this and asked Chen Yang for help. "No problem, however, we need to ask your aunt and uncle first. I can't make a decision on my own." Chen Yang himself naturally agreed. However, in principle, Su Wei's parents' permission is still required for this matter. Otherwise, it is highly likely that good intentions will lead to bad results. That's why Chen Yang gently reminded him. "Okay, I'll call my aunt right now. She'll definitely agree." After Yiqingya finished speaking, she immediately dialed her aunt's number. A few seconds later, the call was connected. "Zioya, is there something you need to tell your aunt?" Wenli asked with a curious look. "Auntie, Chen Yang's company is planning a team-building activity this weekend and intends to rent a cruise ship for a sea trip. I thought that Zaya had been studying so hard lately, so I wanted to invite her to join me so that she could relax a bit and have a good balance between work and rest. That's why I called to ask for your opinion. Yi Qingye didn't stand on ceremony and went straight to the point. It's rare for you to have such a good thing, and you still remember Xiaoai. I agree, but whether Xiaoai is willing to go is another matter. Okay, wait a moment. I'll go to Xiaoai's room and ask for her opinion. Wenli smiled gently and said in a soft voice, Good. Yi Qingye nodded. Not long after, Wenli walked to her daughter's bedroom door and knocked. Only after receiving Su Wei's permission did he push open the door and go inside. Mom, why did you come up here? Su Wei looked at her mother, Wenli, with a puzzled expression and asked, Xiao, your sister called and asked if you want to go seaside this weekend. Going to see? Mom, can I really go? Upon hearing the news, Su Wei jumped out of bed and shouted excitedly, Certainly. You've been studying so hard lately, and Mom has noticed. Your brother-in-law's company is having a team-building event this weekend, so you can take advantage of it to relax and relieve some stress. Wenli's lips curled up in a bright smile. Sis, Mom agreed, so I definitely have to go. Su Wei spoke excitedly into her phone. Okay, then it's settled. I'll send the departure time and location to your phone later. Then just come on time tomorrow. Yi Qingye smiled gently and replied, Okay, I'll definitely be there on time. Su Wei quickly agreed. After saying that, the phone was hung up. Honey, has the company been doing exceptionally well lately? Otherwise, why would you suddenly decide to organize a team-building event, and even spend such a large sum of money to take the company employees on a sea trip? Yi Qingye knows Chen Yang very well. I know he never does anything without a reason. So out of curiosity, he asked, The company has been established for 2.5 months now. We have received investment from several well-known groups and signed investment agreements with several major clients. We have already made a name for ourselves in the financial industry. While my personal abilities account for the majority of this, it is also inseparable from the efforts of the core team and company employees. Besides, the company has recently expanded, right? I'd like to take advantage of the fact that the company isn't too busy lately to organize a simple team-building activity so that new and old employees can get to know each other and strengthen their sense of belonging to the company. Chen Yang smiled slightly and said, Chapter 307, A fleet of luxury buses boards a cruise ship and sets sail. Although Yi Qingye doesn't understand business matters, she can read people's hearts. If you want a horse to run, you have to feed it grass. They keep making empty promises without improving the treatment of their employees or fulfilling their commitments. If this goes on for too long, problems will inevitably arise for the company. Not to mention, Qingyang Financial Investment Company has only been established for less than 3 months. Compared to established companies in the market that have been around for 3 or 4 years, or even 7 or 8 years, Chen Yang's company is incredibly young. But being young also has its advantages. For example, the company is full of energy and dares to think big and work hard. Secondly, Yi Qingye believed in Chen Yang's abilities. If he wants to, he can definitely do it well. Honey, I can't help you much with work, but if you encounter any other difficulties, you can tell me at any time. I will definitely do everything I can to help you solve this. Yi Qingye spoke to Chen Yang with sincere eyes. Honey, you've helped me so much. This company is named after both of us, so you naturally have a stake in it. Later, I will have the company's legal department draft a share transfer agreement to transfer a portion of the shares to your name, and I will hold the shares on your behalf. That way, you can receive a very substantial profit from the company every year, which can be used as your pocket money. At that time, you can buy whatever you want, and you'll never have to worry about money again. Chen Yang held Yi Qingye's hand, his gaze towards her filled with deep affection. The next morning at 8 o'clock, at the entrance of the company building, luxury buses were parked in an orderly fashion on the street. This created a spectacular scene that attracted the attention of passers-by and office workers from other companies inside the building. What's going on? Why are there so many buses all of a sudden? Could it be that a company is organizing a team-building trip? That's a luxury bus from the cruise company, used specifically to transport guests. Wow, is some company department organizing a team-building trip, planning a sea vacation? That's way too extravagant. What an amazing company. They can provide such luxurious benefits for their employees. I know, I heard it's a financial investment company that was established less than 3 months ago. The boss is young, rich, has a powerful background, and is very generous. My friend works at Qingyang Investment Company. He told me that their boss is taking the entire company, more than 100 people, on a 2-day sea trip, and all the food and drinks will be covered. It's so enviable. Why are all the good companies and good bosses other people's? Unlike our boss, who's even more capitalist than a capitalist. He's so meddlesome and makes us work overtime every day, and the worst part is he doesn't even pay overtime. He's a beast. At this moment, all employees of Qingyang Financial Company have arrived at the designated assembly point one after another. Ma Wenji coordinated the operation on site, instructing department heads to count the number of people. The next moment, a convoy of luxury cars arrived at the scene. The van door opened, and Chen Yang and Yi Qingya stepped out. It's Mr. Chen and Ms. Yi. Mr. Chen and his fiancée, Ms. Yi, have arrived. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone immediately stopped talking and looked at Chen Yang and Yi Qingya. Mr. Chen, Ms. Yi, Lin Tian and Ma Wenji quickly ran forward and greeted him. Mr. Ma, is everyone from each department here? Chen Yang nodded slightly. After a moment, he finally spoke and asked, reporting to Mr. Chen, I have just spoken with the heads of each department. All the participants in the company team building activity have arrived. We're just waiting for Mr. Chen's order to board the train. Ma Wenji nodded quickly and replied, Okay, pass the word down, boarding begins now. 10 minutes later, the convoy started to depart. Department heads must organize and coordinate personnel effectively to avoid any mishaps. Chen Yang smiled with satisfaction and said, Clear. Ma Wenji immediately agreed. After, the company staff immediately sprang into action and boarded the vehicle in an orderly fashion. The whole process went very smoothly. Sister, brother-in-law, I'm here. Just then, a clear and melodious voice rang in Chen Yang and Yi Qingya's ears. Turning around, they saw Su Wei carrying a backpack and walking towards them. Zyro Wei, you've come at the perfect time. The convoy will be setting off soon, so stay close to us and don't wander off. Yi Qingya looked at Su Wei with doting eyes and spoke softly. Sister, I understand. I will stay by your side and not go anywhere else. Su Wei replied with a look of joy and excitement. 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. Shortly afterward, the doors of the luxury buses closed. The convoy began to move and headed in an orderly fashion toward the dock. Fortunately, there was no traffic jam along the way, so the convoy arrived at the dock in just an hour and a half. Then everyone got off the bus one after another. A large cruise ship was docked at the shore in front of them. Lin Tian and Ma Wenji arrived in front of Chen Yang immediately. Mr. Chen, the ocean cruiser in front of us is the cruise ship that our company has chartered. The cruise ship has dozens of staff members who will provide us with 24-hour service. In addition, Mr. Chen instructed me to prepare extra food, drinks, and alcoholic beverages, and I also told the staff to make the arrangements. Ma Wenji spoke with a respectful expression. All right, let's arrange for the crew to board the cruise ship. Chen Yang nodded, very satisfied with Ma Wenji's efficiency. Yes, Mr. Chen. After Ma Wenji finished speaking, he immediately walked towards the crowd. Then, from who knows where, they obtained a loudspeaker that could play music aloud and began organizing everyone in the company to board the cruise ship. Throughout the entire process, everyone consciously followed the rules. Only after everyone had boarded the cruise ship did the staff raise the anchor and prepare to set sail. The cruise ship has several decks and luxurious interior decorations, which made many people feel dizzy and exclaim that they had learned something new. After all, most of them have never been on a luxury cruise ship in their lives. For the first time in my life, it was all thanks to Chen Yang. President Lin, President Ma, please lead everyone to visit their accommodations first. Then, resolve the issue of accommodation for the staff. Everyone, please gather at the restaurant in 1 hour. Chen Yang gave instructions to Lin Tian and Ma Wenji. Yes, Mr. Chen. Lin Tian and Ma Wenji responded respectfully. At the same time, Chen Yang also led Yi Qingya and Su Wei to their private luxury suite. These adjacent suites are the best rooms on the entire cruise ship. It occupies a spacious area, has a unique design, luxurious decoration, and includes a separate bathroom with wet and dry areas. Moreover, the mattresses and bedding are all high-end imported brands. It's very soft to lie on. Zyro Wei, you live next door to us. Pack your luggage first, then get some rest. We'll go to the restaurant together later. Chen Yang looked at Su Wei and said softly to her, Okay, brother-in-law. Su Wei smiled and replied with a slight upturn of her lips. Chapter 308, A Down-to-Earth Speech. After settling Su Wei in, Chen Yang pushed open the door to the next room, took Yi Qingya's hand and strode inside. Honey, you sit on the bed and rest for a while. I'll pack your luggage. As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Yang put his suitcase on the ground and then started tidying it up. Host is tidying up clothes detected. Organizer proficiency plus 500. Beginner organizer 705,000. Chen Yang's exceptionally high work efficiency. The luggage was packed in just a few minutes. This scene left Yikinya speechless. Honey, you're amazing. The next moment, Yikinya couldn't help but reach out and hold Chen Yang's neck. Her beautiful eyes looked at Chen Yang with deep affection, and her face showed joy as she praised him. It's just a basic life skill, nothing special. I'm a little embarrassed by your praise. Chen Yang smiled. No way. Your skills are in no way inferior to those of professional housekeepers. Compared to you, I'm practically a complete novice in life. Honey, I've found that I can't live without you anymore. Seeing how capable Chen Yang was, Yikinya hugged him even tighter. To be honest, she herself didn't expect that the more she learned about him, the more she realized just how outstanding Chen Yang was. Compared to Chen Yang, no other man is even worthy of carrying his shoes. She is equally at home in formal settings and in the kitchen. She is good-looking, talented, and has excellent character and values. Such an outstanding and talented man would be irresistible to any woman. You can't live without it. That's the right thing to do. I told you I would make you live a happy life and become someone that countless women envy. Honey, I promise I'll keep my word. Chen Yang smiled faintly and said to Yikinya, Honey, you're the best. A blush appeared on Yikinya's pretty face. She immediately replied to Chen Yang in a coquettish tone. The two spent a long time cuddling together in the room. Afterwards, he tidied his appearance and attire before leaving the room. Arriving outside Su Wei's room, Yikinya raised her hand and knocked on the door. A moment later, Su Wei opened the door from the inside. Xiao, come out. Your brother-in-law and I will take you to the restaurant. Yikinya said softly. Good. Su Wei agreed without even thinking. At this time, the cruise ship restaurant was already packed with company employees. President Chen is here. As soon as someone said that, everyone instinctively turned around, their eyes turning to Chen Yang, and they made way for him. And so Yikinya took Chen Yang's arm, and the two walked side by side toward a small stage in front of them. Everyone, this is the first formal team-building activity of our Qingyang Financial Investment Company. Some of you joined our family when the company was first established. Others are newcomers to our company. But whether you are a veteran or a newcomer, from the moment you chose to join Qingyang, we have been comrades in arms fighting side by side. I know that everyone thinks I am too young and is afraid that I am not capable enough to lead the company to greater heights and further. But the fact is that, under my leadership, the company has grown stronger through one investment after another. It has even received investment from several well-known groups. The company's impressive performance is not only the result of my personal efforts, but also inseparable from everyone's hard work. So I took advantage of the weekend and had General Manager Lin and General Manager Ma arrange this event. Firstly, it's a reward for everyone. Secondly, it's also a way to convey the company's attitude. In our company, we don't look at seniority, only ability. The capable rise and the mediocre fall. As long as you abide by the company's rules and regulations and bring benefits to the company, no matter what your position or status is, the company will not treat you unfairly. Promotion, salary increase, and doubled bonuses are the most basic things. If you are outstanding enough, you will have the opportunity to receive company stock options in the future. Above the stage, Chen Yang looked down at the crowd below with sharp eyes. He doesn't have any of the arrogance typical of leaders, nor does he make empty promises. His tone was incredibly calm, as if he were sharing good news with everyone. His down-to-earth behavior instantly won him the favor of everyone in the company. President Chen, we will definitely work hard and strive to make contributions to the company as soon as possible. Only in this way can we live up to the high expectations that President Chen has placed on us. Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted. This one sentence immediately expressed everyone's feelings. President Chen is so good to us. He not only offers us high salaries, but also gives us bonuses. Now he's even taking us on a sea trip. Because of all this, I'm determined to work hard and stay with the company until I retire. Who can argue with that? With Mr. Chen's exceptional abilities, I believe the company will definitely become a top player in the industry under his leadership. President Chen alone contributes 99% of the company's revenue. If we follow President Chen, he gets the lion's share of the profits, and we can at least get a sip of the soup. With such a powerful figure, anyone who doesn't latch onto him would be a fool. The crowd whispered among themselves. Chen Yang said a few words briefly, and then announced that everyone was free to do as they pleased. Upon hearing this, everyone immediately became excited. The cruise ship staff had already prepared a variety of delicious foods in the restaurant. There's lobster, salmon, crab, steak, vegetables, fruit. Everything is placed on the dining table, and everyone can enjoy it without limit. The amount of food needed for over 100 people is considerable. Fortunately, Chen Yang had made arrangements in advance. The company has made so much money, so Chen Yang won't be stingy. Chen Yang provided ample funding for this team-building activity, which allowed everyone to eat and play to their heart's content. That's why everyone present spoke highly of Chen Yang. Compared to those bosses who only know how to exploit and oppress their employees, Chen Yang is practically a god-like boss for working people. Only through comparison can one truly understand how good Chen Yang is. Chen Yang took Yikinya's hand and led her to a quiet sofa to sit down. "Honey, are you hungry? Do you want me to get you something to eat?" "Okay, I want something sweet." "Honey, could you go and get me some cake or snacks?" Yikinya nodded gently. Then he spoke to Chen Yang. "Okay, you sit here, I'll be right back." After Chen Yang finished speaking, he got up and walked towards the dining table in front of him. Take out a plate, then use tongs to place some small cakes and baked cookies on it, and serve with a drink. Before long, he returned to Yikinya's side. "Honey, try these and see if you like the taste." Chen Yang raised the corners of his mouth slightly and asked softly, "Good." Yikinya nodded with a smile. Her gaze fell on the cake and cookies on the plate. The next moment he picked up the spoon, gently scooped up a small spoonful and put it in his mouth to eat. Chapter 309, Prevention is Worse Than Cure. It has a strong vanilla cream flavor, moderate sweetness, and a very delicious taste, which suits Yikinya's taste perfectly. Delicious, it seems there are some excellent pastry chefs on the cruise ship. In terms of quality, it's not much worse than those famous cake shops on the market. Yikinya smiled and gave a fairly fair evaluation. "If you like it, I'll research how to make it sometime when I have time. I'll make it for you myself then." Seeing Yikinya eating so happily, Chen Yang couldn't help but smile. After all, happiness is contagious. Moreover, Yikinya is his woman. With that relationship, her mood will constantly affect him. "Honey, you're so good to me." Upon hearing this, Yikinya felt flattered and overwhelmed. She just said it casually, but she didn't expect Chen Yang to remember it so carefully. This feeling of being cared for, valued, and cherished deeply moved Yikinya. She increasingly felt that she had married for love. "The happy days I have with Chen Yang are far from over. Fool, you are my woman, Chen Yang's woman and the mother of my child. If I'm not good to you, who else should I be good to?" Chen Yang put his arm around Yikinya's shoulder, looked at her tenderly, and said, "That's true. Honey, I checked online, and it says that couples can have sex once they are 14-15 weeks pregnant or in the second trimester. If we count the days, next week will be around week 14 or 15. Tell me, how do you want me to make it up to you?" Yikinya's eyes flashed with a sly glint as she teased Chen Yang. "Honey, why? Why did you even bother to learn about this? Could it be that you've long harbored desires for my beauty and figure?" Chen Yang's expression suddenly froze. He never expected that Yikinya would bring this up on her own initiative. Although Chen Yang had been looking forward to this day for a long time, he hesitated to do so to avoid embarrassing Yikinya, and also because he didn't want her to think he was being too eager. Therefore, Chen Yang deliberately avoided mentioning this matter. He never expected that Yikinya would take the initiative to flirt with him. "Honey, don't be nervous. We've already met each other's parents and are engaged. We're a proper engaged couple. Right now, all that's left is getting our marriage certificate and having the wedding banquet. So, strictly speaking, having sex between us is completely meaningless. And I know in my heart that you've been enduring a lot of hardship every day since we started living together. It's just that you're afraid I won't be able to accept it, so you're embarrassed to bring it up with me. But we've been together for so long. I've already fallen in love with you and accepted you as my husband from the bottom of my heart. Therefore, I'm not at all opposed to us going that way. After all, I don't want this to cause you to be seduced by those vixens outside." Yikinya was no longer a naive young girl. She deeply understood a principle. Food and sex are human nature. Every normal man has physiological needs. If a partner consistently refuses to have sex, the relationship will inevitably encounter problems over time. She might even push a man into the arms of another woman. After all, outstanding men have their own aura, attracting countless admirers and suitors from the opposite sex. Once tempted, one can easily fall into its clutches and become unable to extricate oneself. This is a man's nature. More than 90% of men find it hard to resist. As the saying goes, it's better to guide than to block. The best way is to satisfy the other party and squeeze them dry. In this way, the other party will not have the energy to go out and have affairs. Honey, you're overthinking it. You're so beautiful and elegant, like a celestial being descended to earth. I must be crazy to leave a celestial being like you and go looking for those vulgar beauties outside. In your heart am I Chen Yang, such a shameless and lustful man. Upon hearing Yi Qingya's words, Chen Yang's face fell, clearly indicating that he had been injured. After all, he was the most handsome guy in the finance department of Shanghai University, with stunning looks and outstanding talent. There were quite a few school beauties and socialites who were attracted to him. Certainly, they were probably just looking for fun, wanting to date Chen Yang. They treated him like a trophy, showing him off on social media. But whatever the reason, this proves that Chen Yang possesses amazing charm to attract their attention. Secondly, Chen Yang is rather traditional and conservative in his thinking, but he still retains a glimmer of hope for love. Therefore, he is destined not to get too close to women easily, unless he is attracted to someone, develops feelings of affection for them, and wants to date them. Otherwise, Chen Yang would never have taken the initiative to flirt with women. Honey, that's not what I meant. I was just using an analogy, just saying it offhand. Please don't take it to heart. You're so handsome and capable. Any woman out there who isn't blind would fall in love with you. I'm just afraid that you'll get entangled with those vixens, using some underhanded tactics. Yi Qingya quickly shook her head and denied it. Honey, please don't overthink things. I promise you I will never be attracted to any other woman but you. No matter how beautiful she is or how prestigious her family is, I would never betray you. Chen Yang patted his chest and solemnly assured him. Seeing that Chen Yang was serious and didn't seem to be joking at all, Yi Qingya couldn't help but laugh. Honey, I believe in you. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang finally breathed a sigh of relief. Yi Qingya scooped up a piece of cake with a spoon and looked at Chen Yang. Honey, open your mouth, I'll feed you. Chen Yang smiled and cooperated perfectly. The cake tastes sweet in your mouth, but the sweetness stays in your heart. Fortunately, Su Wei wasn't around. Otherwise, I couldn't help but say that the two of them were showing off their affection. Soon it was lunchtime. On the cruise ship, staff pushed food carts and placed various delicious foods on the tables. The employees of Qingyang Financial Investment Company were all eager to get started. They picked up their plates, used tongs to pick up various delicious foods, found a seat, and began to enjoy their meal with great pleasure. The scene looked spectacular. Thanks to Mr. Chen, we were able to enjoy such a delicious meal. Mr. Chen, you are the idol I admire most in my life. Who can disagree? Mr. Chen is young and accomplished, achieving success in both love and career. He is truly a role model for us all. Miss Yi is as beautiful as a fairy, a beauty that could topple kingdoms. At first glance, she's the kind of young lady raised in a wealthy and powerful family. She and our President Chen are a perfect match, a match made in heaven. When do you think President Chen and Miss Yi will hold their wedding? This is clearly not something you should be worrying about. I heard from the company leaders that President Chen called a meeting with the company's senior management. Our company's performance last month reached over 1 billion yuan. After deducting the profits from the company's major shareholders and those major clients, President Chen will get at least half of it. He can make hundreds of millions in profit in just 1 month. Mr. Chen's money-making methods are simply terrifying. It's no exaggeration to say that it can turn stones into gold. I'm increasingly grateful that I switched jobs and joined Qingyang. Otherwise, where would I get to go on a cruise and enjoy these expensive meals? Lin Tian and Ma Wenji were also very sensible and did not disturb Chen Yang and Yi Qingya's private time. Everyone was chatting happily with their friends, eating and drinking to their heart's content. After the meal, some people chose to go back to their rooms for a midday rest, while others called up a few friends and went to the cruise ship's card room or karaoke room to have some fun. Sis, brother-in-law, do you want to go sing karaoke with me? Just then, Su Wei walked up to Chen Yang and Yi Qingya and extended an invitation to them. Sure, I'm free anyway, so I'll go check it out. Honey, what do you think? Yi Qingya readily agreed. At the same time, he looked at Chen Yang and asked for his opinion. Okay, whatever you say. Chen Yang smiled slightly and nodded in agreement. Soon, the three of them arrived at a luxurious karaoke room. It turned out that Lin Tian, Ma Wenji, and several senior executives of the company were also there. Mr. Chen, Ms. Yi, Everyone immediately stood up from the sofa, bowed slightly, and greeted them respectfully. Please sit down. This is free time, so don't be so formal. Chen Yang waved to them and said with a faint smile. Upon hearing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. Sister, brother-in-law, I sing really well. How about I show you? There were about 10 people in the karaoke room, but Su Wei wasn't shy at all in the face of this situation. She was poised and confident, her eyes sparkling with self-assurance. The more prestigious the family, the more emphasis they place on their children's upbringing. Therefore, despite her young age, Su Wei is proficient in piano, violin, and dance. She even shows remarkable talent in singing. It's no exaggeration to say that with Su Wei's qualifications, she could easily get into a top art academy in China and become an artist even without going to university. Moreover, there are many career options available. Really, since you're so confident, why not take this opportunity to show your skills? If you can make your brother-in-law happy, he might even give you a reward. Yi Qingya certainly knew Su Wei's capabilities. Seeing that Su Wei was eager to try, she didn't stop her. Instead, she took advantage of the situation to seek benefits for Su Wei. Upon hearing this, Su Wei's eyes lit up immediately, and she asked excitedly, "Brother-in-law, is what my sister said true? If I sing well, will you really give me a reward?" Faced with Su Wei's expectant gaze, Chen Yang couldn't bear to refuse. So he nodded directly. "Of course. If you do well, whatever reward you want, your brother-in-law will give you." "Brother-in-law, you're so wonderful. I assure you I will not let you down." After saying that, Su Wei walked to the karaoke machine and began selecting songs. "Mr. Chen, is this young lady Ms. Yi's sister?" Lin Tian sat next to Chen Yang. Seeing how much Chen Yang doted on Su Wei, he asked curiously. "Yes, her name is Su Wei, and she's my wife's aunt's daughter. She's a senior in high school this year and will be taking the college entrance exam in a few days. For the past week, I've been tutoring her every night, seeing how hard she's working, and since it just so happens that our company is having a team-building trip to the sea, I invited her over so we could relax together." Chen Yang nodded slightly. Lin Tian was the general manager he personally hired from a headhunting firm. He was exceptionally capable and extremely loyal. Facing his trusted subordinate, Chen Yang did not put on airs of a leader, but instead chatted with him casually about everyday matters. Chapter 310, Chen Yang's Ambition and Strategic Planning. Miss Su has a scholarly air about her, and she's lively and charming. She looks like a top student. Now, with President Chen personally tutoring them, they're sure to shine in the college entrance exam and achieve top marks. Lin Tian smiled broadly and offered his compliments. Xiao Wei's grades are among the best in her class and in the top 10 of her grade. She is a promising candidate for a top university in China. But there is still a gap if you want to get into Tsinghua University, Peking University, or Yenching University. However, after my tutoring, her grades improved by leaps and bounds. At that time, there is a very high possibility that I will perform exceptionally well in the college entrance examination. Chen Yang has been tutoring Su Wei for some time now. In addition, he was a junior lecturer. Su Wei has made rapid progress. The improvement in weak knowledge points and problem-solving skills is particularly noticeable. If the current trend continues, it's not impossible for him to make a stunning debut in the college entrance examination and bring a huge surprise to everyone. Chen Yang himself is extremely confident, but he's afraid that if he says it out loud, no one will believe him. President Chen's talent is so outstanding that I feel ashamed of myself. With your help, Miss Su, getting into a top university is practically a sure thing. Upon hearing this, Ma Wenji immediately laughed. "I am quite confident, but we'll have to wait until after the college entrance exam to find out the specifics. But then again, it's naturally great to pass the exam. Even if she doesn't with Xiao's family background, she'll never have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of her life. A life with parents to rely on is true happiness. Unlike me, I've always been self-reliant, relying entirely on my own abilities to fight my way up from the bottom. The hardships and difficulties experienced during this process are something that outsiders simply cannot understand." Chen Yang shook his head and said, "When heaven is about to place a great responsibility on a person, it will first test their will, strain their muscles and bones, starve their body, and leave them destitute. Chen Yang is an outstanding person, someone who is destined for great things. That's why God lets you experience these hardships early, making you more mature and composed than your peers. Otherwise, Mr. Chen would not have been able to start a company at such a young age, and make such great strides in building his own business empire. Lin Tian is now middle-aged. Therefore, his thoughts will be more mature and richer. From his perspective, suffering is a treasure in life. Only by experiencing hardship and enduring the trials of life can one better stride towards the road to success. Early success can easily make people arrogant, conceited, and disdainful of others. Chen Yang is a promising young man, but he remains humble and modest. Such a mindset far surpasses that of his peers. It is precisely because of this that he was able to retain his wealth and have a greater future and achievements. What President Lin said makes a lot of sense. Chen Yang smiled and nodded, acknowledging Lin Tian's statement. The group chatted idly. Su Wei has finished selecting her song. She walked onto a small stage and stood in front of the microphone. The prelude to Myth of Stars and Moon begins. Su Wei slowly began to sing. Her throat seemed to have been kissed by an angel. Her voice was highly recognizable, gentle and melodious, with a lingering resonance. Coupled with her impressive singing skills, her voice is absolutely stunning from the moment she opens her mouth. Lin Tian, Ma Wenji, and all the company's senior executives were stunned and speechless. They even suspected that Su Wei had used the original singer's voice. Otherwise, how could she sing so well? Honey, did you see that? How amazing is Xiao's talent. If my aunt and uncle hadn't stopped her, Xiao might have taken the art exam route and might have become a hot star in the entertainment industry like my cousin. Yi Qingye hugged Chen Yang's arm, leaned close to his ear, and shouted loudly. It's clear that Xiao is indeed very capable. With a little training, this voice and breath control will surely make him a rising star in the music scene within a few years. With the support of resources, becoming a pop diva is not impossible. Chen Yang acquired singing skills and composing abilities. He has an extremely high level of expertise in music theory. Just now, he analyzed Su Wei's various aspects from a professional perspective and came to a very high evaluation. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were born to do this. After all, in any industry, hard work can only guarantee a minimum standard, while talent is the key to breaking through the industry's ceiling. Right, you think so too. My cousin said that a long time ago, but Xiao is innocent and kind, while the entertainment industry is a mixed bag, full of unspoken rules and dirty tricks. It was because of this that her aunt and uncle opposed her pursuing an artistic career. The Wen family has been in business for generations, and the Su family is similar. Despite their wealth, they have virtually no resources or connections in the entertainment industry. They simply cannot protect Xiao Wei. I suppose that's why my aunt and uncle let Xiao go to university step by step. After she graduates, we'll have her come back to the family business and gradually take over the family business. But I know that deep down, Xiao has always wanted to pursue her musical dream. Unfortunately, her parents are destined not to agree. As Yi Qingye spoke, a hint of regret inevitably crept into her voice. To outsiders, they appear to have distinguished origins and noble status. But most of the time, they have no free choice in many things. I could only follow my family's arrangements and proceed step by step according to the plan. From the parents' perspective, they chose the safest path for their children. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but the children may not necessarily feel happy. There's an old saying that goes, "You are not a fish, how can you know the joy of a fish?" From a long-term perspective, the path chosen by parents is certainly good. However, everyone is independent and has their own ideas. Forcing others' ideas onto oneself is sometimes not a support, but rather a shackle that tightly binds a person. Su Wei is the best example. I never expected Xiao Wei to have this side to her. In my opinion, my aunt and uncle did handle this matter somewhat inappropriately. After all, it concerns the future and development of my own daughter, so sometimes we need to communicate more. Otherwise, even if Xiao gets into a top university in the country, she may not be happy learning there. If possible, I would really like to help Xiao out. After hearing this, Chen Yang sighed helplessly. Honey, what do you mean by that? Do you have a way to help Xiao realize her musical dream? Can you convince my aunt and uncle? Yi Qingye's eyes widened immediately, and she looked at Chen Yang in shock, asking him a question. Honey, do you believe me? Within 2 years, I will be able to make my Tengsheng Entertainment Company a top giant in the entertainment industry. At that time, he will definitely have an amazing status and influence in the industry. After that, I'll have Xiao sign with Tengsheng Entertainment. Just because she's my sister-in-law, I can guarantee she can do whatever she wants in the company, and no one will dare to mess with her. Chen Yang said with a confident expression. Honey, are you serious? Are you sure you're not joking with me? I know you have an extraordinary talent in the financial field and have earned a fortune that most people cannot earn in a lifetime through your own abilities. But as the old saying goes, every industry is different. You may be able to develop a company into a leading enterprise in the financial industry, but that doesn't mean you have the ability to be at the top in other industries. Which of the leading entertainment companies on the market has not gone through 7 or 8 years of development, with complex forces behind them, before gradually reaching the top? You want to reach the heights they've achieved over so many years, with countless efforts and energy in just 2 years. Isn't that a bit unrealistic? It wasn't that Yi Qingye deliberately doubted Chen Yang's abilities. Rather, that is the truth. She acknowledged that Chen Yang was exceptionally talented and capable. However, it is unwise to rashly enter an industry and attempt to become a leader. Doing so will inevitably infringe upon the interests of those top entertainment companies. After all, the market is only so big, and once Tengsheng Entertainment dominates the market, it will inevitably pose a threat to them. At that time, the other party will certainly not sit idly by, and will inevitably take action against Tengsheng Entertainment Company from behind. Cutting off someone's livelihood is like killing their parents. They will be like a ferocious, hungry wolf, using every means and method to tear Tengsheng Entertainment Company apart. They might even form an alliance to jointly target and suppress Tengsheng Entertainment. If it really comes to that, the struggle will inevitably be extremely fierce. As the saying goes, 2 fists can't beat 4 hands. Tengsheng Entertainment is very likely to become a thorn in the side of entertainment industry companies. Honey, when have I ever boasted to you? The fact that I dared to ask this question proves that I am confident enough. When I acquired Tengsheng Entertainment, it was a second-tier company in the industry. But to become a leader in the industry, resources, connections, and foundation are all indispensable. And coincidentally, I have no shortage of connections and resources. The only thing I lack is time. However, according to my plan, if all goes well, it may not take 2 years. Chen Yang smiled slightly, his words brimming with confidence. Honey, so you already have a plan in mind. Why don't you tell me about it? Upon hearing this, Yi Qingye also became very interested. She was genuinely curious about where Chen Yang got such confidence from. Chapter 311, Favorable Timing, Location, and Human Connections. Weaving a web of connections. Although Yi Qingye had never started a business and didn't understand the ways of the business world, she still possessed basic analytical and judgment skills. As long as Chen Yang reveals some of his plans to her, she can glean some insights from them. As for whether Chen Yang was deceiving him or not, it was obvious at a glance. Okay, since you're interested, I'll take this opportunity to talk to you about it. Honey, my initial plan is to focus on the financial industry, and then expand my influence and popularity to extend into the entertainment industry. You know young Master Jiang, he's one of my company's clients. The Quanxing Group behind him has a very important position and influence in the entertainment industry. Tengsheng Entertainment has partnered with Quanxing Group, which has largely made up for its shortcomings in resources and connections in the early stages. Afterwards, I will ask young Master Jiang to introduce more friends in the industry so that they can deepen their cooperation with Tengsheng Entertainment. In return, I will provide them with a certain quota so that they can invest their money in me, thus forming a mutually beneficial cooperation model. As I weave this spider web larger and larger, my status and influence will only increase. By then, which company in the entertainment industry wouldn't give me some face? The world is bustling with activity, all for profit. The entertainment industry is profitable, but its cycles are not as rapid as those of the financial industry. In the financial market, as long as there is a wave of industry, it is not difficult to make billions or tens of billions in just half a month. Who do you think would refuse such immense wealth offered to them? At that time, I will have resources, connections, and power. Who would dare to be so foolish as to offend me or make things difficult for me? Chen Yang smiled calmly. He then proceeded to describe his business plan to Yi Qingye. Despite his calm tone, Yi Qingye could clearly sense the commanding and powerful aura emanating from him. Yi Qingye's expression froze, her face filled with shock. She never expected Chen Yang to have such great ambitions. The web he wove was not only building his network of connections, but also establishing one chain after another for the transfer of benefits. Because their relationship is entirely based on mutual benefit, it appears fragile. But as long as the supply is continuous and brings them profits, by then their relationship will be more than just a partnership. Once his power is large enough, Chen Yang will become the controller of that power. Anyone who dares to disobey him will be kicked out of this chain of interests at any time. In this way, Chen Yang completely gained control. Those who covet this secure profit will gradually transform from collaborators into members under Chen Yang's command, acting according to his wishes. If Chen Yang's plan is to come to fruition, he will surely become a top-tier figure in Shanghai, and everyone will have to show him respect. It was indeed a piece of cake to acquire a mere top company in the entertainment industry. Honey, your plan is so meticulous. I have to say, with your freakish investment talent, you might actually be able to make this happen. After thinking about it carefully for a while, Yiqingya felt that Chen Yang's plan was highly feasible. Even if it doesn't meet Chen Yang's expectations, it will definitely bring about earth-shattering changes to his network of contacts. After all, Qin Dong, the eldest son of the Qin family, is a prime example of how Chen Yang attracted him in this way, eventually turning him into his partner and one of his connections. Others include Jiang Heng, Sun Yi Shenyu, and Luo Xiu. It was all thanks to Qin Dong's introduction that Chen Yang got to know them. As long as the benefits are right, Chen Yang can also use their resources and connections. All Chen Yang has to do is share the profits with them when he invests. This kind of cooperation was a breeze for Chen Yang. Therefore, what others cannot do, Chen Yang may be able to do. Many hands make light work. With so many influential and powerful family connections, Chen Yang could easily accomplish anything he wanted. Honey, don't worry. I'm very confident about this. Furthermore, entertainment companies rely not only on personal connections, but also on resources. For artists, what are resources? They are high-quality lyrics and music, ingenious and imaginative scripts, and endorsements for the world's top luxury brands. And I have ways to meet all of these needs. I have the right timing, the right location, and the right people. I have all three. Tell me, how could I possibly lose? Chen Yang smiled brightly, his eyes radiating immense confidence. Seeing Chen Yang's confidence and knowing he had made up his mind, Yiqingya didn't say anything more. Just then, Su Wei's performance was also nearing its end. The song ended. Inside the karaoke room, everyone applauded enthusiastically, and thunderous applause resounded throughout the room. Miss Su sings so well. I would believe you if you said she was a professionally trained singer. She truly lives up to her reputation as Miss Yi's sister. She's beautiful and has a sweet voice. If she were to participate in a talent show, she might just become a rising superstar in the entertainment industry. If I hadn't heard Miss Su sing with my own ears, I would have suspected that the original singer had sung it. No, Miss Su's voice is even more distinctive than the original singer's. We are so honored to hear Miss Su sing live. The workplace is not just about seniority. It's also about interpersonal relationships and social dynamics. Although Chen Yang appeared easygoing and did not pay much attention to these formalities, his indifference doesn't mean that senior management can refrain from doing so. After all, having worked at Qingyang Financial Investment Company for several months, they knew better than anyone just how extraordinary Chen Yang's investment capabilities were. With a leader like that, as long as you work diligently and conscientiously, there won't be any other problems. Compared to other companies on the market, it's a breath of fresh air in the industry. Although Chen Yang is still quite immature in some aspects, with the assistance of core members Lin Tian and Ma Wenji, Chen Yang was spared a lot of worry, allowing him to focus more on financial investment. Do not interfere with senior management work, delegate power, and have a clear division of responsibilities. Based on this alone, Chen Yang is more reliable than more than 80% of the leaders. Thank you everyone for the compliments. Su Wei stepped off the stage and walked lightly to Chen Yang and Yiqingya. A smile graced her face, but her gaze finally settled on Chen Yang. Brother-in-law, what do you think of my singing? Your basic skills are very good, and your chest cavity and breath control are coordinated exceptionally well. You must have put in a lot of hard work behind the scenes, right? Chen Yang did not rush to comment. He smiled slightly and asked Su Wei, Brother-in-law, you actually know music theory? You're amazing. Seeing Chen Yang's professional comments, Su Wei's face was filled with shock. I've studied some. I can see that you have a lot of talent in music. If you want to develop your career in this field, it's not impossible for you to become a pop diva in the future. Just now, your sister also told me a lot about you. You have excellent academic performance, but your artistic talent is equally outstanding. So, no matter which path you choose, I believe you can become a leader in the industry. Chen Yang smiled faintly and said, Chapter 312, Everyone praised him, and he was rewarded for singing well. Su Wei shook her head slightly, not continuing the conversation on this topic. Brother-in-law, let's not talk about this anymore. Didn't you just promise me that you'd give me a reward if I sang well? Chen Yang nodded. That's right, I agreed. Tell me, what reward do you want? As long as it's within my power, I'll grant your wish. Upon hearing this, Su Wei thought for a moment, then smiled and said, Brother-in-law, do you have any talents? Show them to me. I'm curious, besides your work, do you have any other attractive qualities that could draw my sister to you? Are you sure this is the only requirement? Chen Yang was somewhat surprised. He had considered that Su Wei would ask him for various rewards. The only thing I didn't expect was that Su Wei would make such a simple request. Yes, I'm sure. Su Wei lacks nothing. The reason for making this request was simply out of curiosity whether Chen Yang possessed any special talents. At the same time, it was also to seek benefits for his sister. All right, in that case, I'll sing you a song. Let me show you what professional singing skills are like. Maybe not that great, but definitely much better than amateur players. Chen Yang thought for a moment. So he said to Su Wei, All right, then I'll wait and see. Su Wei smiled and replied. The words were spoken. Chen Yang stood up and walked towards the karaoke machine. He requested the song Unromantic Crime, then picked up the microphone and walked to the front. In a short time, everyone in the karaoke room fell silent, their eyes fixed expectantly on Chen Yang. Sis, is your husband a great singer? Su Wei sat down next to Yi Qingye and asked with a curious expression. That's impressive. I went to a karaoke room with his roommate before and heard him sing live. His singing skills are excellent, and his emotions are genuine, making it easy for people to get into the song. He's so much better than his roommates. Yi Qingye smiled, a hint of pride in her eyes. Soon the intro to the song began. Was it destroyed in an instant without being flowered? Will it be warm even without wildfires? How about we celebrate without fireworks? If love is as fake as a play, like a set design, everything is beautified. Even their embrace is modeled after the main characters. Chen Yang's voice was slightly low, and his lyrics were full of emotion. His voice was absolutely stunning from the first note. As the saying goes, a true expert's skill is immediately apparent. With just a few simple lyrics, Chen Yang demonstrates his remarkable talent, making the listener feel as if they are actually there. Others simply thought it sounded good and had a different feel from the original version. But in Su Wei's eyes, Chen Yang's control over details such as high and low notes and vocal transitions is outstanding. It sounds very professional. Host detected singing in front of a crowd. Singing skills proficiency plus 500. Beginner singing skills 500 5000. Soon the song moved into the chorus. Chen Yang became increasingly immersed in the role, not only showcasing his singing skills to the fullest, but also perfectly conveying the emotions in his performance. It broadened the horizons of everyone present. The song ended. The scene fell into a deathly silence. In the end, Lin Tian was the first to react and took the initiative to applaud. Mr. Chen is so talented, he has truly broadened our horizons. If our company were to hold a singing competition, I can guarantee with my hand on my heart that President Chen would undoubtedly be #1. Ma Wenji smiled and quickly praised her. What General Manager Lin and General Manager Ma said is true. The company's senior executives echoed this sentiment. Brother-in-law, you're amazing. You're handsome, capable at work, a great cook, and even have artistic talent. You're like a perfect all-rounder with no weaknesses whatsoever. Now I finally understand why my sister likes you so much. If I find a boyfriend in the future, I will look for someone who meets my brother-in-law's standards. Su Wei looked delighted and couldn't help but say, Really, that's quite difficult. However, I sincerely wish you all the best. Chen Yang smiled and replied. If Chen Yang hadn't activated the system, he wouldn't have been able to master so many skills, and all of them would be so powerful. In reality, these talents and skills not only require guidance from renowned teachers, but also require a significant amount of time to practice in private. So, those multi-talented, high-quality men all come from very wealthy families. Most importantly, they are exceptionally talented. Such people are extremely rare. After leaving the karaoke room, Chen Yang and Yi Qingye went back to their room to rest for a while. In the afternoon, on the deck of the cruise ship, a sea breeze blew in my face, carrying a salty smell in the air. The distant sun and clouds reflect each other, and below is the blue sea, creating a magnificent and breathtaking landscape that cannot help but amaze people. Chen Yang sat on a recliner with Yi Qingya, looking at the magnificent scenery before them, and felt an immense joy. Yi Qingya couldn't help but exclaim, "Honey, the scenery at sea is so beautiful. How come I never thought of going out to sea before?" "That's because you hadn't met me before. The same scenery can be enjoyed alone or with someone you like, and the two experiences are completely different." Chen Yang smiled slightly and said, "You make a lot of sense. After that, I hope you can take me to travel around the country and explore its vast landscapes." Yi Qingya was always strictly controlled in the Yi family. Because of her status, she stays at home every winter and summer vacation. They either stay with their grandparents in the courtyard in Kyoto, or with their maternal grandparents in their old house in Hangzhou. Even when traveling far away, they always go with their families. This was like a sea voyage, a first for her as well, but this experience made her very happy, especially when she was by Chen Yang's side. She felt incredibly happy and more at ease than ever before. "No problem. Once you give birth and recover, we can regularly take time each year to travel around." Chen Yang readily agreed. Half an hour later, Ma Wenji suddenly approached Chen Yang and said with a smile, "Mr. Chen, I brought professional fishing gear for catching big fish. How about we take a swing?" These words were spoken. Chen Yang's eyes lit up immediately. The cruise ship had already entered the open sea, and there were no large waves around it. This is an ideal environment for sea fishing. If you're lucky, you might even catch a large fish. "Mr. Ma, you've thought of everything. You even prepared the fishing rods in advance. Do you have any extra fishing rods? Give me 2 sets, they'll help me pass the time." Chen Yang smiled slightly and said, "Yes, I'll go get it right away. Mr. Chen, please wait a moment." After Ma Wenji finished speaking, he turned around and walked into the warehouse. P.S. The Crime of Being Unromantic Wang Jai. Lyrics Chan Siu K. Music by Wang Jai. Chapter 313 Beginner Sea Fishing. Giant Golden Fish. A few minutes later, Ma Wenji and Lin Tian, carrying their fishing rods, approached Chen Yang. They also brought 2 fish tanks filled with small fish, specifically for use as bait. "Mr. Chen, let's fish here. Let's have another competition to see who catches the first fish and has the heaviest catch." "How?" Lin Tian suggested. "All right, let's have a competition." Chen Yang got excited and wasn't afraid at all. You need to know, his fishing skills will continue to improve as he becomes more proficient. He is far superior to Lin Tian and Ma Wenji. Chen Yang took the 2 fishing rods from Lin Tian. "Honey, why don't you join us? If you catch a fish, I'll help you pull it out." Chen Yang looked at Yi Qingya and said, "Okay, I'll listen to you." Yi Qingya nodded obediently. Then, Chen Yang set up the fishing rod and baited the hook with small fish. With a slight flick of his wrist, the fishing hook flew swiftly into the sea. Immediately afterwards, he handed the fishing rod to Yi Qingya and cast it again in the same manner. Host detected fishing at sea. Sea fishing skill activated. Proficiency plus 1000. Sea fishing level upgraded to beginner level. Beginner sea fishing 05000. Just then, a virtual light screen suddenly appeared in front of Chen Yang's eyes, and at the same time, a system notification sounded in his ears. The next moment, a flood of information about sea fishing techniques and various common sense came to his mind. Ultimately, he digested and absorbed it, transforming it into his own skills. It was only at this moment that Chen Yang realized that sea fishing and wild fishing are 2 completely different skills. After all, the waves and unexpected situations at sea are more complex and dangerous than those at reservoirs and inland rivers. In the deep sea, if a big fish bites the hook, under such immense force, if one is not careful, they could be pulled into the sea along with the pole. If this situation is not handled properly, it could very likely put one's life in danger. Lin Tian and Ma Wenji leisurely baited their hooks and then cast them into the sea. Although the sea surface wasn't very turbulent, it wasn't calm either. This would undoubtedly add a lot of difficulty for anglers. In this situation, the effect of a conventional float is not obvious at all. But then again, when a fish bites the hook in the sea, it makes a lot of noise. So even without a float, anglers can easily detect it. 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. The bait on the deck by Chen Yang and the others did not move. Just as Chen Yang was about to pull up the fish hook to see if the bait had been eaten, suddenly, a tremendous force surged from the sea. This caused the fishing rod in Chen Yang's hand to be pulled and bent into a bow shape. Finally, the fish has arrived, and judging by its appearance, this fish is quite heavy. Chen Yang slouched and paced, his waist and stance perfectly coordinated. With the fishing rod resting against his abdomen, his arm muscles bulged out, revealing distinct lines. Then use skillful techniques to start playing the fish. The constant crashing of the waves created enormous resistance. Even so, Chen Yang remained unmoved. He wrestled with the fish in the sea for a full 20 minutes. Anyone else would have been exhausted long ago, or even completely drained of energy. However, Chen Yang has consistently maintained his morning exercise routine and diligently studied martial arts during this period. This has led to a significant improvement in his physical fitness. The pulling power of his arms far exceeds that of ordinary people. Mr. Chen, the fish is here. It looks like a golden fish, and it must weigh several tens of kilograms. Lin Tian was standing not far from Chen Yang. From his angle, he could see at a glance the fish being pulled out of the water by Chen Yang's fishing rod. He immediately said, with an excited expression, "Mr. Chen, I'll go find the fishing gear right away. Please hang in there a little longer." Upon seeing this, Ma Wenji immediately turned around and ran back into the cruise ship. A few minutes later, he called over several strong and healthy men and brought a fishing rod with him. Then he plunged the fishing rod directly into the seabed and hooked the big fish. It took several people working together and a great deal of effort to pull the fish onto the cruise ship. This golden fish is about 160 cm long, 55 cm wide, and roughly weighs about 70 to 80 jin, 35-40 kg. Holy crap, it's a golden fish. Mr. Chen's luck is just too good, isn't it? The fact that Mr. Chen was able to catch such a big golden fish while sea fishing is a testament to his excellent skills. If it were anyone else, they would be lucky to avoid being pulled into the water, let alone catch the fish. This fish is so big, it must be worth a lot of money. Of course, look at the color and species of this fish. It can't be an ordinary sea fish. Before we knew it, more and more people gradually appeared on the deck. After hearing that Chen Yang had caught a big fish, many people came over to watch out of curiosity. When they saw with their own eyes that such a large golden fish was lying on the ground, their faces were immediately filled with shock. In contrast, Lin Tian and Ma Wenji fished for half an hour without catching a single fish. This directly solidified his title as an Air Force veteran. They originally wanted to continue struggling. Unfortunately, as the commotion grew, they were forced to give up and choose to fight another day. Ma Wenji, gather a few people and take this fish to the kitchen so the chef can help process it. Tonight we'll all eat this. Chen Yang smiled and said, "Yes, Mr. Chen." Upon hearing this, Ma Wenji nodded decisively. After that, he had someone bring over a cart, put the fish on the cart, and sent it directly to the kitchen. It's 7 p.m. Inside the cruise ship restaurant, the chef had already killed and processed the golden fish as instructed by Chen Yang. Cut into pieces according to each part and arrange on a plate. The best and fattest parts are made into sashimi or rice balls and served on the plates of the company's top executives. The remaining portions were evenly distributed among the company's employees. Paired with fine wine and delicious food, it made for a truly enjoyable meal. Honey, this fish tastes so delicious. Even without any ingredients, it tastes especially delicious in its original flavor. Yiqingya sat down next to Chen Yang, picked up a piece of fish and ate it in big bites. The next moment, an expression of extreme enjoyment appeared on her face. Just caught, killed, and eaten on the spot, how could it not taste delicious? I was lucky. Normally I could only catch ordinary sea fish. If this golden fish hadn't walked right into our door, we probably wouldn't have had such a good meal tonight. Chen Yang smiled faintly and said, "You're the best, honey." Mr. Lin and Mr. Ma fished for so long, but they didn't even see a single fish. Yiqingya smiled and couldn't help but praise Chen Yang. Chapter 314 in the entertainment industry, you can't get anywhere without a background. 6,000-word chapter. With such a vast sea in order to catch a big fish, in addition to one's own strength, luck is also an indispensable factor. Judging from the results, I was clearly luckier than them. At least I won't become the Air Force commander. Fishermen fear nothing but being outmaneuvered. No matter how luxurious the fishing gear and bait, if you can't catch any fish, all living beings are equal. But as long as you're not in the Air Force, you still have to appear more impressive than others. Although Chen Yang couldn't be considered a fishing expert, he would inevitably feel embarrassed if he always came back empty-handed. Fortunately, the outcome was still good. This enormous golden fish would certainly be worth a fortune if sold in the market. But Chen Yang wasn't short of money, so he had no intention of selling it. The food was divided among everyone and was eaten up in one meal. Ladies and gentlemen, this golden fish is Mr. Chen's trophy. To thank Mr. Chen for treating everyone to fish, let's all raise our glasses and toast Mr. Chen. After 3 rounds of drinks and 5 courses of food, Lin Tian stood up, holding a wine glass in his hand, and glanced at everyone in the company. After a long pause, he finally spoke. These words were immediately met with approval from everyone. Respectfully, General Manager Chen. Everyone stood up at the same time, raised their wine glasses, and gestured towards Chen Yang. The scene was spectacular. All right, cheers, everyone. Chen Yang picked up his wine glass and addressed the crowd with a smile. Afterwards, everyone raised their glasses and drank heartily. The atmosphere at the banquet instantly became lively. Free time after the meal. Some people were enjoying the sea breeze on the deck. Some were playing cards or mahjong in the card room, and some were watching movies in the cinema. Chen Yang and Yi Qingye found a quiet place to gaze at the bright moon and enjoy a romantic time together. In the blink of an eye, the 2-day cruise at sea came to a complete end as the ship approached the dock and everyone disembarked. However, the morale of all employees in the company is better than ever before. They were all full of fighting spirit, their faces brimming with anticipation for the company's future development. Also because of this team-building activity, everyone then realized more clearly that Chen Yang, the boss, was not aloof, but rather approachable and down to earth. His management philosophy, in particular, is very appealing to working professionals. They firmly believe that Qingyang Financial Investment Company, under Chen Yang's leadership, will reach the pinnacle of the industry. At the same time, they are looking forward to the company's next team-building activity. The cruise company's service was also very considerate. They immediately dispatched more than a dozen luxury buses to transport everyone back to the company. The main principle is to return the goods in the same way they were picked up. Downstairs from the company building, the crowd disembarked from the luxury bus and gathered in the open space in front of the building. Mr. Ma, have the heads of each department count the number of people. Once you've confirmed that everyone has arrived safely, you can announce the end of the meeting and let everyone go home. At the same time, the company's start time tomorrow will be delayed by half an hour so that everyone can get a good night's sleep at home. Chen Yang called Ma Wenji over and gave him instructions. Yes, Mr. Chen. Ma Wenji nodded decisively in response. After Ma Wenji relayed Chen Yang's orders, everyone in the company immediately showed excited expressions. Long live President Chen. It's hard not to love a boss who always puts the interests of his employees first. Immediately, someone on the scene shouted loudly in the direction of Chen Yang. This shout had a significant impact. Others chimed in, creating a very large and impressive scene. In response, Chen Yang simply raised his hand and pressed down in the air, telling everyone not to get too excited. Not long after, Yang Li and his fleet of commercial vehicles arrived at the company building. Chen Yang, Yi Qingye, and Su Wei got into the car. Take Zai home first, Chen Yang said to Yang Li. Okay, boss. Yang Li nodded and replied respectfully. The car kept moving forward. Just then, Yi Qingye suddenly said to Su Wei, Zai Wei, tell me the truth. Are you still thinking about going to art school and becoming a star? Faced with Yi Qingye's question, Su Wei couldn't help but be taken aback. Cousin, what's the point of saying all this? No matter what I think, my parents will never agree to me going down this path. They only thought that I should get into a 985 or 211 university, study business administration, and then work in the family company after graduation, and then gradually take over their business and industry. My life has already been planned out by them. If I show the slightest disobedience, they will use every means to make me obediently submit to their control. At least for now, I have no right to refuse. Su Wei sighed helplessly and said, Let's leave those aside for now. Just tell your sister the truth, what you really think. Perhaps your brother-in-law has a way to help you realize your dream. Yi Qingye certainly knew all this. But that doesn't matter. The important thing is what Su Wei's true thoughts are deep down. If she truly loves music, forcing her to study a major she doesn't like will not make her happy at all. However, Su Weiruo was only dabbling in it and did not have the determination to continue. So letting her follow the steps and arrangements made by her parents might not be such a bad thing. Sis, are you telling the truth? Does your husband really have a way to help me? Upon hearing this, Su Wei's eyes lit up immediately, and she quickly asked Yi Qingye for confirmation. Of course, how could I joke about something like this with you? Your brother-in-law is so capable, he really has a way to help you. But the condition is that you must tell your sister the truth. After all, this concerns your future life and career development, so you must not take it lightly. Yikinya smiled and nodded, saying, Sister, brother-in-law, you've both seen it. I do indeed have a great talent for art. My parents have had this verified by the most professional teachers. The main reason they were unwilling to let me take the art exam route was because they didn't have a good impression of the entertainment industry. Secondly, our family business has absolutely nothing to do with the entertainment industry. Once I chose this path, it meant that my family could no longer provide me with resources. They were also afraid that I would be bullied by bad people and suffer all kinds of unfair treatment. When that time comes, they will be willing but unable to do anything about it. After considering all factors, they finally persuaded me to give up the idea and follow their plan. At this point, Su Wei's tone clearly betrayed her resentment. She longs to stand on a stage where everyone is watching, to dance and sing to her heart's content. That feeling fascinated her. Unfortunately, she had no choice at all. Su Wei knew very well that to make a name for herself in the entertainment industry and become a hot star, she needed to achieve her goal. Being good-looking is not enough. In the end, it all comes down to resources and connections. Without connections, you won't get the attention of a talent agency, nor will you get more exposure and resources. Female celebrities without connections or backgrounds understand this principle well. Therefore, in order to get ahead, they are willing to accept the unspoken rules of their superiors, just to gain more opportunities to rise in rank. In fact, some even actively flirted with the director and assistant director in order to get more screen time and lines in a particular play. These people will stop at nothing to become famous and big stars in the entertainment industry. This is the main reason why the entertainment industry is perceived by outsiders as so dirty and chaotic. Those in positions of power enjoyed the attentiveness and flattery of various beautiful women. Over time, a set of unspoken rules tacitly formed. Most of the time, however, some beautiful female celebrities never intended to rise to fame through unspoken rules. Even so, they will still be targeted by big shots and become one of their hunting targets. Those leaders would use every means, including coercion and intimidation, to make female artists obediently agree. Otherwise, their fate will either be long-term blacklisting by the company or a ban. Even worse, some will arrange for their agents to drug them, then take advantage of their unconsciousness to commit indecent acts. Once they get tired of it, they'll come up with all sorts of unfair contracts and trick female celebrities into signing them. The end result was that they couldn't afford the company's exorbitant compensation, leaving them with no way out and a tragic end. Therefore, those who have been through it all know that, without a powerful background, outstanding looks, and a stunning figure aren't necessarily a good thing in the entertainment industry. Often, they will be targeted by malicious people, thus attracting many unwarranted disasters. The Wen couple, being worldly wise, saw through the treacherous nature of the entertainment industry, and lacking a strong background and resources, had no choice but to dissuade Su Wei from pursuing this path. After all, this is their only precious daughter. They don't even pamper themselves enough, so how could they bear to watch their daughter be pushed into a fire pit? No matter what industry you're in, without a powerful backer, it's often difficult to make any progress. Therefore, in the eyes of the couple, the path they planned for their daughter would be the safest and easiest for her to take. Xiao, so deep down you still prefer to take this path, right? At this moment, Chen Yang looked at Su Wei and slowly asked, Of course, if I could, I would prefer to follow my own heart. However, I cannot disregard my parents' feelings just because I am willful. After all, they all meant well for me. Su Wei nodded. She felt conflicted and helpless. How about I give you a suggestion? Chen Yang smiled slightly and said, Brother-in-law, if you have any good suggestions, please tell me quickly. Su Wei excitedly grabbed Chen Yang's arm and asked, Just focus on taking the college entrance exam. After you get your results, go to university according to your parents' plan. During your university years, you can find a professional vocal coach to study with and work hard to improve your singing skills. Give me some time to expand my entertainment company. Then I'll sign you into my company and nurture you with the best resources. After you graduate from university, you are free to choose whether you want to go back to take over your parents' business or enter the entertainment industry. No matter what the outcome, your parents and I will support you. Chen Yang explained with a smile. Brother-in-law, do you want to enter the entertainment industry? Upon hearing this, Su Wei finally realized what was happening and said with an incredulous expression, It's not just a thought, it's already taken action. Some time ago, I acquired a second-tier entertainment company in the industry called Tengsheng Entertainment. Going forward, I will dedicate a lot of energy and resources to make the company a leader in the industry in the shortest possible time. The day you truly enter the entertainment industry, you'll have someone to rely on. By then, your parents' concerns and worries will be completely dispelled. They will have no reason to stop you from pursuing your dreams. Chen Yang shrugged and said with a relaxed expression, "Brother-in-law, you're amazing. You're my idol. I love you to death." After thinking about it carefully, Su Wei realized that Chen Yang's words made perfect sense. If things go according to his plan, she could very well pursue her own musical career in the future, although she may have to put in more effort and sweat than others in this process. But it's all worth it to achieve my dream, and this is currently the only solution. Xiao Wei, you are still young and have a long road ahead of you, so you don't need to rush at all. Instead, you should work hard quietly and accumulate strength. It's never too late to start taking action. Chen Yang spoke earnestly and offered his advice. The road ahead is long and arduous, but we are ready to start anew. If you take the right path, even if it's slow, you will grow and progress step by step. One day, everyone will be able to realize their dreams. If you take the narrow or unconventional path, that's truly going astray. Brother-in-law, I know, thank you for your suggestion. Don't worry, I know what to do. Su Wei is very smart. She understands things very quickly. During their casual conversation, they arrived at the Su family villa. Chen Yang and Yi Qingye took Su Wei home. Villa lobby. Upon seeing Chen Yang and his two companions, Wen Li immediately got up and walked over. "Honey, you're back. Did you have fun at sea?" Wen Li stood in front of her daughter and asked with concern. "Mom, I had such a great weekend. You wouldn't believe it, my brother-in-law caught a giant golden fish on the cruise ship. It's so cool. My brother-in-law even had the chef on the cruise ship butcher the fish on the spot and distribute the meat to everyone. The fish was plump, tender, soft, and sweet. It was simply divine and left a lasting impression." Su Wei looked excited and said to Wen Li, "Really?" Upon hearing this, a look of shock flashed across Wen Li's face. After all, the probability of catching a giant golden fish while fishing at sea is really small. The vast majority of people gain nothing. If you don't believe me, you can ask my sister. At that time, she was standing next to her brother-in-law. Su Wei quickly said, "Chen Yang Xiaoya, Xiao Wei is such a lively child. I hope she hasn't caused you too any trouble." Wen Li quickly shifted her gaze from her own daughter to Chen Yang and Yi Qingye. He then asked with a smile, "Auntie, you're worrying for nothing. Xiao is very well behaved and behaves very well. If I have the chance in the future, I will take her out to play more often." Yi Qingye smiled and replied, "That's good. You just got back from sea. Why don't you eat at home tonight? I'll ask Aunt Wang to buy more groceries so we can have a big meal tonight." Wen Li looked at Yi Qingye with doting eyes and said, "Okay, ask Aunt Wang to buy more of the dishes you and Xiao like, and I'll have my husband cook them for you." To be honest, although the chefs on the cruise ship are quite skilled, they are still significantly inferior to my husband. I've gotten so used to my husband's cooking that I feel like my palate has become much more discerning. Yi Qingye smiled and said, "Sis, your life is so good, I can't help but feel envious. Can I come to your house for meals more often in the future? I especially love your brother-in-law's cooking." When Chen Yang's cooking skills were mentioned, Su Wei's eyes lit up and she became excited. Every time she thinks about it, she can't help but drool. After all, she's a foodie and has absolutely no resistance to delicious food. Sure, after your college entrance exam is over, you're welcome to come over for dinner anytime. Yi Qingye readily agreed. Wen Li quickly called Aunt Wang to go out and buy groceries at the supermarket. She went back to the kitchen, cut some fruit, and brought it to the guest table. "Xiaoya, you are pregnant now, so you should pay more attention to rest and supplement your nutrition. Here, these are all fresh fruits I just bought. Have a taste." "Thank you, Auntie." Yi Qingye smiled and nodded and took the initiative to thank her. More than half an hour later, Aunt Wang returned to the villa carrying a large bag of groceries. "Madam, I've bought all the ingredients you requested." Aunt Wang walked up to Wen Li and respectfully reported, "Honey, now it's your turn to perform." Yi Qingye smiled and looked at Chen Yang. "Okay, leave it to me." Chen Yang has no aversion to cooking. After all, this was a trivial matter for him. The words were spoken. Chen Yang then got up and went into the kitchen. "Brother-in-law, let me help you." Su Wei followed closely behind, speaking solicitously. Although she's not a great cook, she really enjoys watching people cook. Chen Yang's superb knife skills and masterful culinary arts were so impressive that it didn't seem like he was cooking, but rather like an artistic performance. Inside the kitchen, Chen Yang tied on an apron and laid out the large bag of ingredients to decide what dishes to make. Braised lion's head meatballs, scrambled eggs with tomatoes, braised pork belly, steamed hairy crab, shark fin soup, and finally a tofu soup. After the recipe was finalized, Chen Yang began washing and preparing the vegetables. He first turned on the range hood, then took out the wok, heated the oil, placed the seasonings and side dishes aside, and then entered chef mode. Su Wei stood beside him, watching Chen Yang move with ease and confidence, handling everything with effortless grace. This made her feel that cooking wasn't so difficult after all. In reality, you'll know how difficult it is once you try it yourself. Brother-in-law, your cooking is amazing. I'm standing next to you, and my eyes are getting blurry from watching you cook. Su Wei felt genuine admiration. It's like being in a completely different world when you're not in the same profession. But Chen Yang seemed to be omnipotent, as if nothing could stump him. Read more, learn more, and then put in the effort to figure it out, and you can do it too. Not to mention preparing a Manchu Han imperial feast. At least home-style dishes are absolutely no challenge. Chen Yang smiled slightly and said to Su Wei, "Yes, I'll definitely try more when I have time." Su Wei nodded in agreement. More than an hour later, a whole table full of delicious food was laid out on the dining table. The air was filled with various aromas, making one's mouth water. Everyone sat down around the dining table. "Chen Yang, thank you for your hard work. It's all thanks to your cooking skills that the dishes are so delicious. I've been cooking for so many years, but compared to you, the gap is still too big." Wenli looked embarrassed. As an elder, she should be the one cooking for the children. Unfortunately, her cooking skills were simply not up to par with Chen Yang's. "Auntie, please don't say that. Your cooking is also great. It tastes just like Mom's cooking." Chen Yang quickly shook his head and praised him. "Really? You didn't say anything nice to comfort me." Winnie was clearly somewhat insecure. "Auntie, would I need to lie? Your cooking has been eaten by your uncle and Xiaoi for so many years. Don't they know how good it is? It's just that my cooking skills are indeed quite excellent. In comparison, it makes your skills seem less impressive. But compared to those ordinary housewives, Auntie, your cooking skills are definitely top-notch." Chen Yang gave Wenli a thumbs up. "Mom, my brother-in-law is right. Your cooking is also very delicious, so please don't underestimate yourself. At worst, we won't compare ourselves to my brother-in-law." Su Wei nodded and quickly offered words of comfort. "Auntie, Xiaoi is right. Don't compare yourself to my husband. He's a genius. Anyone who compares themselves to him will be completely crushed." Yi Qingye smiled and said, "All right, let's not talk about that anymore. Let's start eating." The words were spoken. Wenli then picked up her chopsticks, took out a lion's head meatball, and placed it in her precious daughter's bowl. "Honey, try your brother-in-law's braised lion's head meatballs and see how they taste." "Thank you, Mom. Then I won't be polite." Su Wei was really hungry, so she started eating heartily. The meat is firm and has a fresh and rich flavor. One bite brings a sense of happiness. Delicious, so delicious. Brother-in-law, you are simply a culinary master reborn. Su Wei's face suddenly revealed an expression of extreme enjoyment, and she couldn't help but exclaim. Upon hearing this, Wenli and Yi Qingye also tasted it. Really? Chen Yang's culinary skills have never disappointed them. Every dish was absolutely delicious. They couldn't stop eating them. Seeing that they were enjoying their meal, Chen Yang couldn't help but smile. As a chef, whenever he sees someone eat his food, his face shows a look of surprise and satisfaction. Chen Yang felt a great sense of accomplishment. After the meal, Chen Yang went to Su Wei's room and gave her another hour and a half of extra lessons. Host detected teaching Su Wei key knowledge points. Instructor skill proficiency plus 500. Instructor skills beginner level 505,000. This gave Su Wei a sudden and profound understanding of her weak areas of knowledge, from which she gained a great deal. Night fell and the streetlights shone brightly. The van drove all the way back to the OCT villa. After taking a shower, Chen Yang and Yi Qingye lay on the bed in their pajamas, looking at each other. An ambiguous atmosphere suddenly filled the air. "Honey, you're so handsome. And you've been working out every day lately. You seem to have got even stronger. The lines of my chest and abdominal muscles are much more defined. I'm losing control. I want to devour you." Yi Qingye was leaning on Chen Yang's shoulder at this moment. Her right hand was placed on Chen Yang's chest, where she could not only feel his strong pulse and heartbeat, but also touch his well-developed pectoral muscles. Chapter 315, Crazy increase in proficiency. Honey, don't be impatient. We can't eat all the meat, but I can let you have some good deals. How is it? Feels pretty good, right? Chen Yang grabbed Yi Qingya's fair and smooth little hand and let her touch his body at will. In fact, both men and women have physiological needs. Some people are more restrained, while others simply cannot control their desires. Given Chen Yang and Yi Qingya's identities, it's perfectly normal for them to sleep together. However, Yi Qingya is currently pregnant, which makes the two of them somewhat hesitant. Otherwise, the two of them would have been unable to restrain themselves long ago. After all, they were all hot-blooded young men, so it's not surprising that they accidentally went off on a gun. Upon hearing Chen Yang's words, Yi Qingya felt relieved and openly began to appreciate his work. And the next second, Chen Yang leaned down and kissed Yi Qingya's fragrant lips. Yi Qingya did not refuse. Instead, she responded enthusiastically. The two were so engrossed in their own world that they forgot themselves. Except for the last step, we did everything we could. Finally, they fell asleep in each other's arms. The next morning, 7 o'clock, when Chen Yang woke up, he saw Yi Qingya still sleeping soundly in his arms. His slightest movement woke Yi Qingya up. "Honey, I'm sorry, I accidentally woke you up. It's still early, you can sleep a little longer." Chen Yang smiled and said in a low voice, "Good." Yi Qingya knew that Chen Yang was probably going to do his morning exercise again. She turned over and went back to sleep. Chen Yang got up, washed up, changed into sportswear and walked out of the villa. Yang Li drove his minivan and took him to a training center near the residential area. The training hall is fully equipped with all kinds of facilities and has a very spacious area. Therefore, membership cards are not cheap. But for Chen Yang, money was not an issue at all. Yang Li, Cao Jun, and Zhang He donned professional protective gear and then came to an open space, standing in front of Chen Yang. "Let's begin." Chen Yang beckoned to Yang Li and the other two, and then gave the order. "Boss, I'm sorry." After Yang Li finished speaking, he gave Cao Jun and Zhang He a wink. Then the three of them attacked Chen Yang simultaneously, targeting different parts of his body. If it were anyone else, they would definitely find it difficult to cope. They might not even last one round. But Yang Li and the other two knew exactly how terrifying Chen Yang's combat power was. Therefore, in order to avoid physical pain, they went all out and showed no mercy. Good timing. Chen Yang advanced instead of retreating. He raised his hand to block Yang Li's fist, and the next second he stepped forward to get closer, taking advantage of the opening to kick Cao Jun. Cao Jun reacted extremely quickly, dodging and then launching a counterattack. The punches and kicks collided, fierce and powerful. Zhang He, on the other hand, was waiting for an opportunity to strike, intending to inflict even greater damage on Chen Yang. The four of them wrestled together, each punch landing with a brutal, visceral force, making it even more exciting than a martial arts movie. Chen Yang held his own against three opponents and was in no way at a disadvantage. Moreover, the longer it grows, the more vigorous it becomes. His practical experience has been greatly improved, and his combat strength is increasing at a visible rate. From feeling a little pressure at the beginning to now being able to handle things with ease. It only took about a week. Host detected using military grappling techniques against the enemy. Proficiency +1000. Advanced military grappling mastery 1500 Host detected using the Black Dragon 18 hands in actual combat. Proficiency +1000. Black Dragon 18 hands advanced 1500 Host detected using Hung Quan in combat. Proficiency +1000. Advanced Hung Quan 1500 Host detected using Bajiquan to defeat the enemy. Proficiency critical hit bonus increased by 2000. Advanced Bajiquan 4001 Chen Yang used Yang Li, Cao Jun, and Zhang He to improve his proficiency, and the effect was extremely obvious. Even though the three of them are retired elite soldiers with great strength. But in front of Chen Yang, he was ultimately slightly inferior. Moreover, the gap in strength between them is widening. It's better to rely on yourself than on others. Chen Yang understood this principle well, which is why he was so eager to improve his own strength. Fortunately, his efforts were not in vain. "Boss, I feel like you've gotten even stronger. Before, the three of us could last more than a dozen rounds against you. But now, the time has been shortened considerably. Moreover, the moves you use have become simpler and more lethal." Yang Li could clearly feel it. That's why his eyes were filled with shock when he looked at Chen Yang. You need to know. The reason these three men possess such formidable strength is that they have grown step by step through years of training and hardship in the military. Chen Yang only spent a portion of his time each day sparring with them. In this process, we continuously learn and improve. But his growth was so rapid it was unbelievable. It would not be an exaggeration to call him a martial arts prodigy, one in a century. Captain Yang, so you feel the same way. I thought it was just my imagination. Cao Jun scratched his head and chuckled sheepishly. Boss, they're treating the three of us like tools, constantly using us to enhance our practical experience. Judging from the results, the effect is amazing. In the future, if something really happens, it might not be us protecting the boss, but the boss protecting us. But this is good too. If any thugs dare to plot against the boss, even if we brothers are no match for them, the boss will still have the ability to protect himself. It might even lull the enemy into a false sense of security, delivering a fatal blow they never expected. Zheng He said with a solemn expression, "Yes, the three of you must keep this a secret for me." After spending this time together, Chen Yang had long regarded Yang Li, Cao Jun, and Zheng He as his trusted subordinates. They spend every day together, and some things simply cannot be hidden from each other. It's perfectly normal that they notice something amiss. Fortunately, Chen Yang's strength improved step by step under their watchful eyes. They could also label Chen Yang as a martial arts prodigy and explain the past. "Don't worry, boss, we know what to do," Yang Li replied with a serious expression. "It's about time, let's go back." After saying that, Chen Yang strode out of the training hall. Yang Li, Cao Jun, and Zheng He removed their protective gear and quickly followed Chen Yang. The van then drove towards the OCT villas. 20 minutes later, the car arrived at the villa's entrance. Chen Yang got out of the car and went to the villa lobby. At that moment, Yi Qingye had just finished preparing breakfast and brought it to the table. "Honey, what delicious food did you make?" Chen Yang suddenly felt curious and asked a question casually. "Make pancakes. I asked Aunt Li to teach me how to do it. You exercise every morning and you get so much exercise. You must be hungry when you get back. Pancakes are filling and taste delicious. Honey, try it and see how it tastes." Yi Qingye picked up a small piece of pancake, walked up to Chen Yang and fed it to him. Chen Yang naturally wouldn't refuse Yi Qingye's offer of food. He immediately opened his mouth and ate the pancake in one bite. I must say, the pancake smelled really good and tasted great too. "Delicious. I didn't know you had some talent for cooking, my wife." Chen Yang smiled and said to Yi Qingye, "Really? Then you can teach me more in the future, and I'll cook you all sorts of different dishes later." Yi Qingye couldn't feel at ease enjoying Chen Yang's kindness towards her. In her view, the best kind of love should be mutual. They can put themselves in each other's shoes and know how to consider each other's feelings. Despite his busy work schedule, Chen Yang still makes time every day to personally cook delicious meals for her. As Chen Yang's fiancée, she could make good use of her time at home to rest during her pregnancy. She learned how to cook, how to take care of the family, and how to be a good wife, helping Chen Yang with logistical work so that he could focus more on his work. "No problem." Chen Yang realized that Yi Qingye genuinely wanted to learn. So without even thinking, he immediately agreed. He also discovered that Yi Qingye was a foodie. In this way, she learned to cook and could make whatever she wanted to eat in the future. "Honey, you're so good to me." After Yi Qingye finished speaking, she stood on tiptoe and kissed Chen Yang on the cheek, saying in a coquettish tone, "I'll go take a shower and change my clothes first. I'll come down and have breakfast with you later." "Go." Soon, Chen Yang went up to the master bedroom on the second floor, took a set of clothes from the walk-in closet, and headed towards the bathroom. 20 minutes later, Chen Yang returned to the villa's lobby and sat down at the dining table to have breakfast with Yi Qingye. "Honey, it's still several months until you give birth. You're so bored at home. Have you thought about finding something to do?" After pondering for a moment, Chen Yang asked Yi Qingye. With his current wealth, he could easily support Yi Qingye for the rest of her life. But Yi Qingye stays at home all day, while he has to go to work and can't be by her side all the time, afraid that she will be too bored by herself. Therefore, Chen Yang thought of having Yi Qingye find something to do to pass the time. "I majored in foreign languages. My family originally planned for me to either take the civil service exam and work in the system, or to get a sinecure job at a bank. But now that I'm pregnant, my plans have suddenly gone awry. Moreover, in another 2 or 3 months, my belly will be very noticeable, and it won't be suitable for me to show my face in public." Yi Qingye smiled helplessly. "That's true. Honey, I'm not trying to force you to go out and find a job. My income is more than enough to support you. I was just worried that you were too bored and wanted you to find some hobbies to pass the time. Chen Yang smiled and said, Honey, I know what you mean. So I'm planning to run a hot pot restaurant with Yao Yao. Firstly, she and I are best friends, so we can keep each other company. Secondly, I can learn something from her, which is better than being bored at home. What do you think? Yi Qingye thought for a moment. After a long pause, he spoke to Chen Yang. I also think your idea is good. However, you must promise me that you will bring bodyguards with you wherever you go. I only feel at ease when they are by your side. After all, my bodyguards are all retired elite soldiers from the military region, and each one was hand-picked by your second uncle. Their abilities and loyalty are guaranteed. Chen Yang nodded slightly, agreeing to Yi Qingye's suggestion. Okay, I promise you. Yi Qingye knew that Chen Yang was doing this entirely for her own good. After all, she's pregnant now, so she has to be extremely careful when she goes out. Secondly, she's so beautiful that it's inevitable that she'll be approached by others or attract attention from certain people. Therefore, safety is absolutely of paramount importance. With bodyguards accompanying him, Chen Yang could feel at ease no matter where he went. All right, I'll take you to Fragrance Pavilion in a bit. It's a good opportunity to see how your best friend's branch expansion is going. Chen Yang smiled and said, Okay. Yi Qingye smiled gently. 15 minutes later, Chen Yang and Yi Qingye went out and got into a business car, heading towards Xiangxiang Pavilion. Since the Xiangxiang Pavilion became a hit, the number of people in the food court has been increasing. Many people come here specifically to taste the hot pot at this restaurant and see if it is as delicious as the rumors suggest. 9:30. Guests were already arriving at the entrance of Xiangxiang Pavilion. The dining tables in the lobby on the first floor were almost all occupied. If you come any later, you might not even be able to get a seat. This shows just how booming the business is. The arrival of Chen Yang and Yi Qingye did not cause much of a stir. Mr. Chen, Ms. Yi. Upon seeing Chen Yang and Yi Qingye, the front desk staff of the hot pot restaurant immediately greeted them. Is your boss, Mr. Su, here? Chen Yang nodded slightly, then asked. Not yet. The boss usually arrives at the store after 10 o'clock. If I have classes at school, I'll come over the next afternoon. The receptionist replied respectfully. Okay, I understand. After saying that, Chen Yang led Yi Qingye into the store. At this moment, the store manager warmly greeted them. Mr. Chen, Ms. Yi, what brings you here? Are you here to see my young lady? Chen Yang nodded and said with a faint smile. I just happened to be passing by and wanted to chat with Su Menjiao for a bit. The receptionist said that she usually comes to the store after 10 o'clock. It seems we arrived too early. The manager clearly knew that Chen Yang and Yi Qingye were his young mistress's business partners. Therefore, his attitude was exceptionally respectful. My young lady is on her way and should arrive soon. Mr. Chen, Ms. Yi, why don't you go to the private room on the 3rd floor and have a cup of tea? I will report this to my young lady when she arrives. Chen Yang saw that it was still early. Standing here is indeed not appropriate, so I readily agreed to the manager's suggestion. Soon, the two of them arrived at a private room on the 3rd floor, sat on the sofa, boiled water to make tea, and quietly waited for Su Menjiao to arrive. Host detected brewing tea. Tea ceremony proficiency plus 500. Tea ceremony beginner level, 905,000. Just after Chen Yang brewed a few cups of tea, the door to the private room was pushed open. Su Menjiao, dressed in a white bodycon dress and white fashionable high heels, came to Chen Yang and Yi Qingye. Sister, why didn't you tell me you and your man were coming? So I can make arrangements in advance and avoid keeping you waiting here for too long. Su Menjiao sat down next to Yi Qingye, a smile on her face, and said, It's all right, I'm just idling around anyway, so I'll just treat it as an inspection of my own property. Yiao, how's business at the shop lately? Is it still packed like before, always full? Yi Qingye grabbed Su Menjiao's arm and asked with a curious expression. Chapter 316, Fragrance Pavilion. Business continues to boom. Plans to open 3 more branches. Yes, look at the lobby on the 1st floor. It's not even lunchtime yet, but so many guests have already come here. Our hot pot broth at Xiangxiang Pavilion is exceptional. Its taste and texture are far superior to other hot pot restaurants. That's why many people go out of their way to eat here. If you arrive even a little late, you'll have to wait in line for a very long time. Some wealthy bosses even arrange for people to queue up in advance to reserve a spot, and then bring their clients and friends directly over after work. Our restaurant is always packed during mealtimes, with no seats available. That's why I want to open a few more branches in other places. This way, I can effectively reduce customer traffic and provide customers with a better dining experience. And just based on our Zhangxiang brand, I guarantee that the opening of the branch will be a huge success and become the most popular hot pot restaurant in that area. Su Menjiao nodded slightly and then said with a confident expression, "She's been doing a lot of research lately in preparation for opening a branch. He even borrowed a more professional team from his father to help him realize his branch expansion plan. From registering the catering company to selecting store locations and decorating, everything is proceeding in an orderly manner. So, even if Chen Yang and Yi Qingye didn't come to see her today, Su Menjiao would still make time to chat with them. After all, expanding the branch network is an urgent matter. Every day of delay results in a significant loss of profits. Yiao, I'm getting really bored staying at home. After thinking it over, I've decided that while my belly isn't showing too much and I can still move around relatively easily, I'll do something with you. If we sisters are together, at least we'll have each other's company. Do you think it's okay?" Yi Qingye smiled gently, looked calmly at Su Menjiao and asked, "Of course. Don't forget, you are also one of the shareholders of Zhangxiang Pavilion. More people means more strength. If you're willing to help, it will definitely make my life much easier." Upon hearing this, a hint of surprise flashed across Su Menjiao's face. She never expected that Yi Qingye would have such thoughts. After all, given Yi Qingye's status, she shouldn't need to show her face in public to do business. Not to mention the Yi family's wealth and status, Chen Yang now runs a financial company and makes a fortune every day, so Yi Qingye doesn't have to worry about money at all. However, on the other hand, Chen Yang has to manage the company's business, so he definitely needs to go to work during the day and can't be with Yi Qingye all the time. As a result, Yi Qingye would inevitably feel bored after being alone at home for a long time. Instead of doing that, it's better to find something to do to pass the time. After understanding Yi Qingye's thoughts, Su Menjiao immediately agreed. In the past, Su Menjiao would have thought that doing business was very simple, but only she herself knew how complicated it was after experiencing it firsthand. Putting aside how much money one can make, there are just one thing to deal with every day. When things get busy, there's simply no time to rest. Of course, every effort will be rewarded. In this process, Su Menjiao has grown, become more independent and more responsible. Fortunately, Su Menjiao has the support of her father and is also guided by professional management personnel. Otherwise, with her current abilities, she simply wouldn't be able to manage such a large operation. Menjiao, have you decided on the location for the branch store? How many stores do you plan to open initially? At this moment, Chen Yang glanced at Su Menjiao and asked with some curiosity. Yes, I already had someone choose the location for me, and the renovation company has started construction. It will be officially open for business in half a month. Initially, my plan is to open 3 stores, one of which is about 7 or 8 kilometers away from the food court. The other 2 are located in other residential communities. In this way, we can distribute all the customer traffic, and we can take this opportunity to make our Zhangxiang Pavilion brand famous. Su Menjiao had full confidence in the hot pot broth and dipping sauce recipe that Chen Yang had prepared. In particular, the business of Zhangxiang Pavilion continues to boom. Since she has chosen to open a branch and wants to turn the hot pot restaurant into a national chain brand, she naturally cannot operate on a small scale. These 3 branches were the initial trial. If the business is profitable, Su Menjiao will ask her father to invest more and establish branches in other first-tier cities. In this way, the hot pot restaurant brand, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, will bring huge commercial value. At that time, whether it's financing or getting a bank loan, it will be much more convenient. It can greatly reduce one's financial pressure. Not bad, the efficiency is quite fast. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang immediately smiled. After a long pause, he continued, "As we originally agreed, for this branch of Zhangxiang Pavilion, you will be responsible for the investment, and I will be responsible for providing the recipe and contributing my technology as equity. In the end, you will take 40%, and my wife and I will each take 30%. If your next step is to make this brand bigger and stronger, then our cooperation may have to change. In that case, I won't take advantage of you. I will also contribute 60% of the total investment for opening subsequent branches." How? Upon hearing this, Su Menjiao immediately nodded. "Okay, we'll do it your way. I am very confident that I can build up the Zhangxiang brand, At that time, the brand's commercial value will bring us huge wealth. Kingya, by then we will all be billionaires, young and beautiful rich women. Yi Kingya looked excited, her eyes filled with anticipation. Yi Ayo, in order to achieve financial freedom as soon as possible, my sister and I must work hard from now on. We are the bosses, so we don't need to do everything ourselves. We should leave the professional tasks to the professionals. We just need to keep an eye on the big picture and be responsible for handling and coordinating some issues. In Su Menjiao's view, bosses and employees have different roles and identities. Therefore, their work patterns are also completely different. You can slack off when things are going well, but if something happens, you must take responsibility and have the ability to solve problems. Otherwise, if such a large operation gets out of control, it will inevitably lead to instability among the troops, causing rumors to spread and ultimately resulting in disintegration. Don't worry, if we really encounter any difficulties, my husband will still be there to help us out. After all, the secret recipes for the hot pot broth and dipping sauces were all made by him. With him in charge of the immortal fragrance pavilion, everything will go smoothly, and they will make a fortune. Yi Qingya patted Su Menjiao's hand, her words full of confidence. Qingya, you're right. Therefore, we don't need to feel guilty. Just go for it boldly. Su Menjiao replied with a smile. Chapter 317, Not Even a Rival in Love. The gears of fate are quietly turning. Because Chen Yang was there to back them up, Yi Qingya and Su Menjiao felt no pressure at all. On the contrary, they all agreed that as long as the taste and business model of Xiangxiang Pavilion were replicated, the business of those branches would definitely not be bad. It's even highly likely that, like this store, its business will continue to boom. After all, in the restaurant business, the taste of the food and the quality of service are the core priorities. As for the dining environment, some are luxurious and exquisite, while others are dignified and elegant. Customers from different social classes have different preferences, but these preferences are all closely related to their spending power. According to Su Menjiao's vision, the branch stores are mainly aimed at mid to high-end customers, because these kinds of people are often more willing to pay for good food and a higher quality of life. After finishing their business, Yi Qingya and Su Menjiao's conversation gradually became more relaxed. They even started talking about some gossip. Qingya, do you still remember our high school classmate Zhu Fan, the sports committee member? He used to be your ardent admirer. I heard that he has already graduated from Beijing Sport University. He returned to Shanghai a couple of days ago and is preparing to follow his family's arrangements to work in their company. This matter has spread throughout our classmates' group. Moreover, he has tried to ask me for any information about you more than once in private. In my opinion, he probably still has his eye on you. Shanghai isn't that big, but it's not that small either. If he really wants to see you with his family's influence, finding out about you wouldn't be difficult at all. Yi Qingya's expression froze for a moment. Then her gaze unconsciously drifted towards Chen Yang. Seeing that he wasn't angry, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Then Yi Qingya glared at Su Menjiao with a reproachful look. Yi Ayo, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm already engaged to my husband and I'm several months pregnant, and you're still making jokes like this with me. Are you really not afraid of causing me trouble? Upon hearing this, Su Menjiao seemed to realize that she had said something wrong and secretly glanced at Chen Yang. Immediately, he said apologetically, Chen Yang, I didn't mean to make things difficult for you. This guy has been bothering me lately. I wasn't paying attention and just blurted it out. Please don't take it to heart. And I think Qingya is right. You two have already met each other's parents, gotten engaged, and are even several months pregnant. And Zhu Fan was just one of Qingya's many suitors. Even if your family has some connections, there's absolutely no way they could take Qingya away from you. After all, you two are truly in love. I was just worried that this guy was too obsessed with Qingya and would keep bothering her, causing her inconvenience and trouble. That's why I kindly reminded him. I didn't mean anything else. After listening to Su Menjiao's explanation, Chen Yang finally understood who Zhu Fan was. The sports committee member from my high school class, a graduate of Beijing Sport University, whose family owns a company, has been trying to find out about Yi Qingya lately. He probably still has feelings for her and is thinking of pursuing her again. Chen Yang showed no panic whatsoever, because in his eyes, Zhu Fan wasn't even a rival in love. At best, he's just a sycophant with some family wealth. From beginning to end, it was nothing more than Zhu Fan's wishful thinking. Yi Qingya, however, didn't even look at him. Otherwise, when Zhu Fan was pursuing Yi Qingya, Sparks would have already flown between them. How could we have waited until now? Instead, Chen Yang won the heart of the beauty. Don't worry, I'm not that petty. My wife is stunningly beautiful, like a fairy, and is the most beautiful campus belle at Shanghai University. With her looks, she must have been the most popular girl in the whole school during high school, the white moonlight in the hearts of countless boys. It's normal for her to have a large number of admirers and suitors around her. After all, outstanding people always radiate a dazzling light, which has a fatal attraction to the opposite sex. For example, I was a prominent figure in our high school. During my school years, I received quite a few love letters from older and younger students. This is all normal. Chen Yang smiled calmly and said, "Honey, were you this popular in high school? So many girls liked you, didn't you ever have a crush on them?" Yi Qingya's eyes flickered. The next moment he suddenly asked, "Of course not. At that time, all I could think about was studying and trying to get into the top universities in the country so that I could ease the burden on my family. Where would I find the energy to engage in romance? That would be far too extravagant for me. In fact, I worked part-time throughout my 4 years of university and had no time to think about romance. During that time, quite a few upperclassmen and underclassmen from wealthy families pursued me, wanting me to become their son-in-law so they could avoid working for 20 years. Unfortunately, I'm a rather traditional person, and I have a strong sense of male chauvinism in my bones, so I simply can't live off a woman. If I hadn't been working at the bar, I wouldn't have happened to witness you being drugged, and then somehow ended up having sex with someone and getting you pregnant. To be honest, I would never start a relationship easily before I am fully prepared mentally." Deep down, Chen Yang always held on to the hope of love. So, unless he meets a woman who moves his heart, no matter how noble her family background or how beautiful she is, he will not change his mind. He would never take the initiative to pursue her. Better to have none than something bad. Be consistent and dedicated to one thing. This is his style of doing things. He was lucky. He got Yi Qingya pregnant after only one sexual encounter. Yi Qingya also learned in her private investigation that Chen Yang was not only the most handsome man in the finance department and had excellent grades, but he also always kept himself pure and never had any ambiguous relationships with other women. In addition, when she found out she was pregnant, the fetus was already more than 2 months old, and she couldn't bear to abort the child. That's why I thought of giving Chen Yang a chance and letting the two of them try to get to know each other for a while. Otherwise, Chen Yang wouldn't confirm his relationship with Yi Qingya so easily. Honey, thinking about it this way, I'm actually quite lucky. If I hadn't mustered up the courage to go to you and tell you I was pregnant, we might never have crossed paths again. It certainly won't develop into the kind of relationship we have now. Looking back now, Yi Qingya feels incredibly fortunate. If only she had kept it a secret from Chen Yang and aborted the child in her womb back then. They only shared one sexual encounter. There was no bond that could truly bind them together. Yi Qingya would never have the chance to learn just how outstanding Chen Yang was. She would never fall in love with him or establish a romantic relationship with him. There was no subsequent meeting with the parents, meeting the elders in the family, or engagement. Yes, looking back now, it all feels like a dream. 2.5 months ago, I was still working part-time to prepare for graduation. Who would have thought that you would suddenly tell me I was going to be a father? My life changed dramatically from that moment on. Chen Yang will never forget it. Yi Qingya came to the door and said she was pregnant, triggering the system's activation scene. The gears of fate began to turn quietly at that moment. Chapter 318, Yeguang Technology, 5x Profit. All right, you two stop showing off your love in front of me. If there's nothing else, I'll go and get back to work. Su Menjiao noticed that Chen Yang and Yi Qingya were chatting and suddenly started showing off their affection. For a moment, I felt like a third wheel. He immediately expressed his dissatisfaction. All right, enough joking around. Wife, you can stay here with Menjiao. I'll have a few bodyguards stay with you. If you need anything, just tell them to do it. I'll come pick you up after I finish my work at the company. Chen Yang smiled faintly and said to Yi Qingya, "Good." Yi Qingya obediently agreed. Afterwards, Chen Yang left Xiangxiang Pavilion and headed towards the company. Qingya, if you ask me, you have excellent taste. Back then, so many boys in our class liked you, but you didn't like any of them. Later, when I went to university, I had even more suitors. There are so many outstanding boys, but you didn't take a liking to any of them. Chen Yang is the only exception. He first had an accidental relationship with you, and you got pregnant. Then you two started living together, and you ended up together inexplicably. After that, your relationship progressed rapidly, from meeting each other's parents to getting engaged. To be honest, even the male and female leads in idol dramas don't have as fast a career progression as you two. Su Menjiao, holding Yiqingya's arm, couldn't help but sigh. There's nothing we can do. When fate brings us together, no one can stop it. Don't be fooled by how fast our relationship has progressed. We're actually mutually attracted and have our eyes on each other. After I give birth to the baby in my belly, I will get a marriage certificate with Chen Yang and then have a formal wedding. At that time, we will be a legally married couple. With this official status, let's see who dares to make a move on us. Yiqingya has many suitors, but with the news of her pregnancy, many will likely back down. But Chen Yang is different. He is in the prime of his career, young, rich, and handsome, a truly high-quality man. At that time, he will surely be surrounded by many beautiful women who will stop at nothing to tempt him into making mistakes. Especially when Yiqingya was in her pregnancy period. That period was the perfect opportunity for other women to take advantage of the situation. To avoid this situation, Yiqingya became even more determined to get married to Chen Yang as soon as possible, although she believed in Chen Yang's character. But as the old saying goes, it's not the thief you should fear, but the one who has his eye on you. Only by completely eliminating other people's thoughts can one rest easy. Since you're going to get your marriage certificate sooner or later, why don't you go get it now? Could it be that your parents disagree? A hint of doubt flashed in Su Menjiao's eyes as she asked. My dad has requirements for Chen Yang. However, I believe that with Chen Yang's abilities, he will definitely pass his test. Our marriage is a done deal. As for when to hold the wedding, it's just a matter of time. Yiqingya smiled and explained. It was a little after 10 a.m. Chen Yang arrived at the company and went into his office. He sat in his executive chair, his desk neatly organized. To his left were financial publications and other carefully compiled materials prepared by his assistant, Bai Yuxuan, along with a stack of important company documents. Chen Yang took a sip of tea and then got into work mode. As the company owner, he doesn't need to do many trivial things himself. In addition, Chen Yang was willing to delegate authority and gave his core staff the utmost trust. Therefore, he doesn't need to interfere with the company's daily management at all. Just approve some important documents and keep an eye on the company's major investment projects. After spending half an hour handling company affairs, Chen Yang immediately opened his stock trading software on his computer to check the day's stock market data and look for suitable investment opportunities. Host detected to be investing in stocks. The title of God of Investment is activated. God-level analytical and judgment abilities are manifesting. Yeaguang Technology, stock code XXXXXX, currently trading at 40.15 yuan. This afternoon, we will hold a press conference to announce a cutting-edge technology independently developed by the company and claim that the technology has been officially patented. Next, the company will engage in in-depth cooperation with a major state-owned enterprise in China to commercialize the business. Following the announcement, the stock price surged rapidly and is expected to increase fivefold. Just then, a virtual light screen suddenly popped up in front of Chen Yang, displaying detailed information about this important investment. A press conference, cutting-edge technology, stock price expected to increase fivefold. Upon seeing this, Chen Yang's heart immediately raced, and he couldn't help but get excited. You need to know, during this period, Chen Yang personally managed several investments, each of which brought substantial profits to the company. But stock profits are at most 20%, 30%. This is the first time I've ever seen a single stock that can generate a 5x return. Faced with such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Chen Yang naturally did not want to miss it. He immediately left his office and rushed to the investment department. President Chen, the investment department's office area. Upon seeing Chen Yang, everyone immediately put down their work, stood up respectfully, and greeted him. Okay, you guys keep going with your work. I'm here to see your CEO Ning. Chen Yang smiled faintly and nodded to everyone. After saying that, he strode into the investment director's office. Inside the house, hearing the noise, Ning Hao immediately looked up and saw that the person who came was his boss. He immediately stood up and said respectfully, Mr. Chen, what brings you here? Is it something important that you want me to do? Chen Yang sat in Ning Hao's seat, then nodded with a smile. Ning Hao is the investment team I asked you to set up in place. Mr. Chen, I've taken care of this. I personally selected everyone in the team. Is there some kind of operation you're here for? Upon hearing Chen Yang's words, Ning Hao immediately realized what he meant and said with a serious expression. That's right. You should gather them all together and plan out separate offices. From now on, whenever I make any investment decisions, I will have this investment team handle the transactions. You also need to be careful about security and confidentiality to ensure that my investment information is not leaked. Chen Yang nodded slightly. At the same time, he reminded Ning Hao of the importance of the investment team's leak of company secrets. After all, everyone in the investment department knows that whenever Chen Yang makes a move, the investment amount is always in the hundreds of millions. Moreover, each time it brings huge profits to the company. They have won every battle and never lost. If information about the stocks he invests in is leaked by company insiders, it will not only affect his subsequent operations, but also cause incalculable losses to the company. Therefore, we must attach great importance to confidentiality. In such cases, the company will typically offer these employees generous compensation and have them sign relevant confidentiality agreements to clarify the stakes involved. Only by taking a two-pronged approach can this situation be avoided to the greatest extent possible. Chapters 319-320. Those who get there first don't even get a sip of soup. Don't worry, Mr. Chen. Regarding the issue of company trade secrets, the legal department has already drafted relevant agreements and had all traders in the investment department sign them. If it causes losses to the company, not only will you have to pay full compensation, but in serious cases you may also face imprisonment. The cost of breaching the contract is enormous, and I believe no one would dare to do so lightly. Moreover, the salaries our company offers them are 30% higher than those of other financial companies in the market, and project commissions and year-end bonuses are calculated separately. Any smart person would not risk their life and take the risk of committing such illegal and criminal acts. Ning Hao nodded with a serious expression. Having worked in this industry for many years, he was already very familiar with the issues that Wei Chenyang had considered and had taken preventative measures in advance. This made Chen Yang very satisfied. It wasn't in vain that he spent a lot of money to hire Ning Hao to work for him. After all, Chen Yang found it very reassuring to have such top talents, both in terms of personal ability and efficiency. Okay, pass on the notification. We'll meet in the trading room shortly. After Chen Yang finished speaking, he got up and left the office. A few minutes later, inside the trading room, Ning Hao and his 5 traders were on high alert. Chen Yang stood in front of them, his gaze sweeping over them. After a long pause, he slowly spoke. Next, I want you to do only one thing. Immediately use the funds in the company account to build a position as quickly as possible and sweep up all Yaoguang Technology shares on the market. Remember, keep your actions discreet and try not to attract the attention of the main force. Yes, Mr. Chen. Many traders responded in unison. Okay, let's begin. With Chen Yang's command, all traders immediately entered trading mode and began executing various commands. Inside the trading room, only the sounds of keyboards and mice echoed. This scene lasted for about an hour. Before the stock market closed in the morning, they had successfully snapped up 600 million yuan worth of Yaoguang Technology shares. Lunchtime, Chen Yang called the manager of a nearby upscale restaurant and ordered a lavish meal for each member of the investment team, which was then delivered to the company. After dinner, everyone took a short lunch break. After the stock market opened in the afternoon, many traders got back to work. This time, they successfully snapped up nearly 400 million yuan worth of Yaoguang Technology stock. With a large influx of funds, Yaoguang Technology's stock price actually rose by 15%. Despite the increased costs, Chen Yang didn't care at all. Mr. Chen, our company has almost completely absorbed the orders from individual investors in the market. Those who still hold shares in Yaoguang Technology are either major players or big-name speculators. It may be difficult to grab more shares in the short term. Upon learning this news, Ning Hao immediately reported it to Chen Yang. How many shares do we currently hold in total? Chen Yang pondered for a moment, then asked. The current share price of Yaoguang Technology is 46.15 yuan. Our company holds more than 20 million shares, with a total value of nearly 1 billion yuan. Ning Hao had the traders discuss it. Finally, an accurate number was obtained. That's enough. You guys can leave work early later. Ning Hao, no one is allowed to touch these stocks without my orders. You must keep a close eye on this matter. Chen Yang looked at Ning Hao and said in a serious voice, "Don't worry, Mr. Chen. I will definitely live up to your expectations." Ning Hao knew that this matter carried a great responsibility. His expression was solemn as he assured Chen Yang, "Everyone has worked hard. Once this investment is finished, I'll treat everyone to a big meal." Chen Yang said with a smile, "Thank you, Mr. Chen." No one present doubted the truthfulness of Chen Yang's words. After all, their boss is known for his generosity and always keeps his word. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Yeaguang Technology held a press conference. At the meeting, it was officially announced that the company had developed a groundbreaking black technology and successfully applied for a patent. At the same time, we will engage in strategic cooperation with the leading state-owned enterprise Shenggong Group to commercialize the technology. The news came out. Yeaguang Technology's stock price immediately hit the daily limit, and Shenggong Group's stock price also rose slightly. At the same time, Qingyang Financial Investment Company. Upon hearing the news, Ning Hao's face was filled with shock and disbelief, because Chen Yang had already ordered his investment team to buy Yeaguang Technology shares in advance that morning, thus completing the strategic plan. That afternoon, Yeaguang Technology held a press conference and announced major positive news, causing the financial market to go completely crazy. Unfortunately, they reacted too slowly. The vast majority of the goods had already been snapped up by Qingyang Financial. They didn't even get a sip of soup. As expected of President Chen, he must have known all along that Yeaguang Technology was going to hold a press conference to announce major positive news. That's why he made the arrangements one step ahead of time. The company currently holds more than 20 million shares, and these shares are likely to generate huge profits. Ning Hao couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. It was evening. When Chen Yang returned to the villa, Aunt Li had already cooked dinner and purchased some fresh ingredients. Chen Yang sat on the living room sofa and rested for a while. Then he called Yiqingya and asked, "Honey, where are you? When are you coming back?" "Honey, I'm on my way. I'll be home in 20 minutes. Yiqingya smiled gently and replied, "Okay, I'll start cooking now. Dinner can be served around the time you get home." Chen Yang said, "My dear husband, you've worked so hard. I love you." Yiqingya smiled gently and said in a coquettish voice, "Hang up the phone." Chen Yang got up from the sofa and went straight into the kitchen. After putting on the apron, I started washing the ingredients and preparing the dishes. A moment later, everything was ready. Turn on the range hood, put out the pan, heat the oil, and enter chef mode. He cooked all of Yiqingya's favorite dishes: divine braised pork, divine scrambled eggs with tomatoes, stir-fried eggplant, potatoes and green peppers, boiled fresh shrimp and cabbage, and tofu soup. The food was only half cooked when a beautiful figure stood at the kitchen door. The person who arrived was Yiqingya. "Honey, I'm home. What delicious dish did you make? It smells amazing." Yiqingya walked to Chen Yang's side and took a deep breath. For a moment, I was captivated by the aroma before me and couldn't help but ask, "These are all your favorite foods. Could you take these dishes out for me first? I have one more dish, it'll be ready soon." A faint smile played on Chen Yang's lips. Then he looked at Yiqingya and said in a gentle tone, "No problem." Upon hearing this, Yiqingya readily agreed. She wrapped her hands in a cloth, picked up the plate of food, and walked towards the restaurant outside. Chapter 320. Morning training session at the gym. Combat prowess astonishes passers-by. 20 minutes later, after Chen Yang finished cooking the last dish, he carried the plate to the restaurant. Then he sat down at the dining table with Yiqingya. "Honey, are you starving? These are all your favorite dishes. Come and try them." Chen Yang took the initiative to serve food to Yiqingya, looking at her with gentle eyes. "Thank you, honey." Yiqingya felt a surge of warmth in her heart as she experienced Chen Yang's affection. After all, apart from her parents and family, this was the first time she had experienced such genuine care from someone else, free from any self-interest or calculation. "Honey, what were you and Menjiao busy with after I left? Why are you so late coming back?" Chen Yang smiled slightly, then suddenly asked Yiqingya curiously. "It's nothing. I just accompanied her to the branch next door for a look around. I took a look, and the location and foot traffic are excellent. There are only a few hot pot restaurants around, but they are not chain brands. They are all owned by individual business owners. Once our branch opens there, I believe it will be an instant hit. At that time, business will be booming, if not always packed." Yiqingya ate the delicious food with gusto. At the same time, he spoke with a smile on his face and full of confidence. Yes, it's good that you have confidence. But work is work. Your most important task right now is to get more nutrition and take good care of your health. As for the hot pot restaurant, you can leave it to Menjiao to handle. You just need to help out, but don't overwork yourself. Chen Yang nodded, looking concerned. Honey, I know all of this. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Yi Qingye knew exactly which matter was more important. That's good. The two ate and chatted, creating a very warm atmosphere. The next morning, just before 7 o'clock, Chen Yang woke up leisurely and then went to the bathroom to wash up. He changed into a comfortable set of sportswear and walked out of the villa as usual. Yang Li and his group stood next to the van, having been waiting for some time. Hello, Mr. Chen. Seeing Chen Yang walking towards them, Yang Li and the others immediately greeted him respectfully. Let's go head to the training hall. Chen Yang is now increasingly enjoying the feeling of his combat strength, constantly increasing every day. So unless there are special circumstances, he exercises every morning without fail. Yang Li, Cao Jun, and Zheng He, who were initially uncomfortable, have gradually gotten used to it. Although the threat posed by the three of them to Chen Yang was decreasing day by day. However, by sparring with a martial arts master like Chen Yang, their skills improved without them even realizing it. Therefore, they weren't actually opposed to it. Instead, I felt a strange sense of anticipation. The van sped along and soon arrived at a nearby training facility. After showing their membership cards, Chen Yang and his group strode into the training hall. First, a simple warm-up. After that, Yang Li, Cao Jun, and Zheng He began to put on professional protective equipment. As usual, he practiced with Chen Yang. And this scene, the training center staff went from being shocked at first to now taking it for granted. At this time on ordinary days, there are no other customers in the training hall besides Chen Yang and his group. However, today, a group of young men and women appeared. Hey, beautiful, who are they? What are they planning to do? Xiao Zhiji's family has some assets, so he can be considered a second-generation rich kid. I enjoy working out and outdoor sports in my spare time. In the morning, he met up with some friends at the training center to work out before preparing for outdoor cycling. Unexpectedly, they saw Chen Yang and his group there, so they asked the beautiful receptionist out of curiosity. Mr. Xiao, it's normal that you don't know since you haven't been to the training center recently. They are new clients of our training center. The young and handsome man in the lead, I don't know which family he is. He brings his own bodyguards to our training center every day for combat training. He is very strong. The receptionist explained with a smile. What, such a thing actually happened? Upon hearing this, a hint of curiosity flashed across Xiao Zhiji's face. Of course, they come almost every day. If Mr. Xiao doesn't believe it, we'll wait and see. The receptionist nodded. As they were talking, Chen Yang walked to an open space, where Yang Li, Cao Jun, and Zheng He stood opposite him. Boss, we're ready. Yang Li spoke up. Okay, let's begin. Chen Yang smiled faintly and then spoke. The next moment, Yang Li and the other two immediately formed a triangle, surrounding Chen Yang in the middle. Then the three of them attacked at the same time. The enormous fist aimed directly at Chen Yang's face, chest, and back, slamming down hard. Faced with such a fierce offensive, Chen Yang was unable to fight back. He pivoted on his left foot, shifted his body to the right, and effortlessly dodged Yang Li's direct attack. At the same time, he constantly changed his pace, repeatedly avoiding the encirclement by Cao Cao's army and Zheng He, keeping himself in a state of absolute safety. Keep going, and don't give the boss a chance to take them down one by one. Yang Li learned from his previous experience. Immediately, he spoke to Cao Jun and Zheng He. Yes, Captain Yang. Cao Jun and Zheng He quickly agreed. Without taking a break, they immediately launched another fierce attack. Looking at the scene before him, Xiao Zhiji couldn't help but exclaim, "Holy crap! They're actually serious, not just putting on a show. Young Master Xiao, these bodyguards are clearly quite strong. Look at that handsome guy, he's completely overwhelmed and can only keep dodging. If this continues, his situation will only become more and more dangerous." His companion immediately spoke up to remind him. It's not that simple. Look at that handsome guy, he looks so relaxed, not afraid at all. Just wait, there's bound to be a twist later. Xiao Zhiji smiled and said. As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Yang then stopped dodging and instead waited for an opportunity to counterattack. Host detected using military grappling techniques in actual combat. Proficiency +1000. Advanced military grappling mastery, 2501-0000. Host detected using the Black Dragon 18 hands in actual combat. Proficiency plus 1000. Black Dragon 18 hands advanced. 2501-0000. After a few rounds, Chen Yang immediately seized an opportunity. Using military grappling techniques and the Black Dragon 18 hands, they directly subdued Cao Cao's army. Immediately afterwards, Yang Li and Zheng He felt immense pressure. However, they still put up a fierce resistance and brought their fighting strength to the limit. Host detected using Hung Quan in combat. Proficiency plus 1000. Advanced Hung Quan, 2501-0000. Host detected using Bajiquan in combat. Proficiency plus 1000. Advanced Bajiquan, 5001-0000. Another 7 or 8 rounds passed. When Chen Yang increased his strength to 50%, Yang Li and Zheng He were clearly struggling to keep up. The scene before them left Xiao Zhiji and the others completely stunned. He not only knows how to use grappling techniques, but he is also proficient in traditional Chinese martial arts. I see the shadows of Hung Gar and Bajiquan in him. This guy looks young, but his strength far surpasses that of his bodyguards. When did such a person emerge in Shanghai? Chapter 321, The Predicament of Tengsheng Entertainment Company. A new chapter has been added. If the connection is unclear, you can go back and take a look. Chen Yang ignored the stares of Xiao Zhiji and the others. He learned a lot during the sparring sessions with Yang Li and the other two. He then continuously transformed this insight into his own practical experience. After his thoughts were clear, his combat strength improved significantly. System, how many reputation points do I have now? Chen Yang asked himself inwardly. The host's current reputation value is 3,500. We hope the host will continue to work hard and break through 10,000 as soon as possible, which can be used to upgrade a master-level skill. The host currently meets the requirements for skill upgrades, master-level Bagua Dragon Palm and master-level Culinary Arts. Seeing this, Chen Yang also felt somewhat helpless. Clearly, reputation points are much harder to acquire than skill proficiency. To increase his reputation, Chen Yang needs to make a high-profile appearance in the public eye and increase his own visibility. This approach is somewhat inconsistent with Chen Yang's usual style. The tallest tree in the forest will surely be felled by the wind. Although Chen Yang has accumulated considerable wealth, he still lacks in terms of background and resources, unless he uses his status as the son-in-law of the Yi family as a pretext. But Chen Yang's inherent pride prevented him from doing such a thing. On the other hand, if Chen Yang really did that, it would inevitably arouse the resentment of Yi's parents. We should proceed steadily and surely, without rushing things. Anyway, my company is developing very fast, and it won't be long before it completely explodes in the financial circle of Shanghai. By then, your reputation will surely skyrocket. After careful consideration, Chen Yang still felt that taking things slowly would be better. 10 minutes later, Yang Li, Cao Jun, and Zheng He removed their protective gear and followed Chen Yang out of the training hall. Before long, everyone got into the van and headed towards the OCT villa. Back at the villa, as soon as Chen Yang entered the hall, he greeted Yi Qingye and went upstairs to his room to shower and change. 20 minutes later, Chen Yang and Yi Qingye sat at the dining table and ate breakfast together. Honey, try the tomato and egg noodles I made for you. See how it tastes. Yi Qingye has been learning to make breakfast from Aunt Li recently, and her skills are quite good. Therefore, she naturally wanted to make a good impression on Chef Chen Yang. Okay, then I'll try it. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang immediately began to taste it. The noodles were indeed chewy, and the broth was very flavorful. If it's out of 10, I'd give you 8. For a beginner, your cooking skills are already quite good. A moment later, Chen Yang offered his comments. Really? Upon hearing this, a hint of excitement flashed in Yi Qingye's eyes. Of course, if you don't believe me, you can try it yourself, Chen Yang said with a smile. Yi Qingye quickly picked up her chopsticks, grabbed some noodles, and started eating. The taste was exactly as Chen Yang had described. So it seems I have some talent in cooking. Upon seeing this, Yi Qingye exclaimed with delight. Honey, you're so smart. As long as you really want to learn, there's nothing you can't learn. Chen Yang looked at Yi Qingye with doting eyes and said. He wasn't deliberately flattering Yi Qingye. It was simply the truth. Yi Qingye is fluent in foreign languages and has a wide range of interests including music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. This shows that she has an outstanding learning ability. Making simple breakfasts and home-style dishes, is a piece of cake for her with just a little practice. After breakfast, the two tidied themselves up and went out. Chen Yang first took Yiqingya to the Xiangxiang Pavilion, and then headed towards Tengsheng Entertainment Company. We arrived at Tengsheng Entertainment Company at around 9:00 a.m. Company employees have gradually returned to their posts and started working. Chen Yang walked straight to the general manager's office. "Mr. Chen, what brings you here?" Su Heng had just arrived at the company and hadn't even warmed his seat when his secretary reported that the boss had arrived. Just as he was about to get up and go out to greet him, he saw Chen Yang push open the office door and walk straight in. "I just stopped by to take a look. Mr. Su, would you please gather the company's senior management for a short meeting in the conference room?" Chen Yang smiled calmly and said, "No problem." Upon hearing this, Su Heng readily agreed, so he immediately had his secretary pass on the message. 5 minutes later, in the company's conference room, Chen Yang sat at the head of the conference table, and the other senior executives sat down in order of their positions. "The reason I called you all here is mainly to find out what the company's plans are regarding the 2 original songs and script that I previously submitted to President Su. Or rather, is there any problem that you need my help to solve?" Chen Yang's sharp eyes swept over the crowd, exuding an aura of authority that commanded respect without anger. After a long pause, he spoke softly. "Mr. Chen, the 2 songs you submitted are of exceptionally high quality. Although it doesn't quite reach the level of a golden hit, it's definitely above average. I've already had the company's recording engineers produce a single for artist Wang Yang. As soon as those 2 songs and music videos were released online, they immediately soared on the new song charts. Now, both have broken into the top 10 of the new song charts. This generated a huge amount of buzz for our artist Wang Yang, whose fan base surged by hundreds of thousands in just a few days. It not only greatly increased her personal fame and enhanced her commercial value, but also made our company stand out in the industry. When this matter is mentioned, Su Heng's expression was filled with excitement as he spoke with great enthusiasm. "Mr. Su, do you mean that original songs of this quality can bring huge commercial value to the company?" Chen Yang's eyes narrowed, and he immediately pressed for an answer. "That's right. If we have a few more high-quality songs, with the resources our company already has, we can definitely cultivate Wang Yang into a top-tier artist. By then, Wang Yang's commercial value will surely rise, the company's reputation will skyrocket, and the stock price will continue to soar. And the company can take this opportunity to recruit a large number of new artists and replenish its workforce with fresh blood. However, this is quite difficult. After all, top-tier composers are a scarce resource in the industry, and every entertainment company values them highly. Trying to poach them will inevitably come at a hefty price." Su Heng said with a serious expression. "Mr. Chen, Mr. Su is right. Compared with those top-tier companies, our company has a weak foundation, and it is difficult to attract top talent. Without high-quality resources, it is impossible to attract high-quality artists, let alone cultivate them into talents. If we don't solve this problem, it will be very difficult for our company to grow and become stronger." The artist director looked serious and took the initiative to bring up the core issue. "Mr. Chen, the company is currently lacking senior composers, senior screenwriters, and renowned directors to oversee operations. Therefore, it is impossible to continuously produce high-quality songs, scripts, and good films and television dramas. Every time we have to pay a high price to buy from other companies, which is really too passive. If Mr. Chen can help solve this problem, I believe the company will definitely take off completely." Another senior official added. Chapter 322, I'll handle the money. Aunt Wen calls. "Is it really that hard to recruit talent in this field? Even if our company is willing to spend a lot of money, can't we find someone?" Chen Yang looked at everyone and then spoke again. "It's really difficult. But if the cost is too high, even if you recruit talent, it may not be a worthwhile deal." Su Heng sighed helplessly. "In that case, we'll train them ourselves. Mr. Su, please immediately issue a recruitment notice to major art colleges across the country. Our company is willing to offer generous compensation to any composer with rich creative experience or who has produced outstanding works before. At the same time, we will allocate 5 million yuan to organize a song composition competition in the name of the company. We need to discover true talent among a vast number of creators, then recruit them into our company and nurture them with special attention. In this way, our company can completely solve the problem of talent shortage." Similarly, this model can also be applied to screenwriters and directors. We can't recruit established directors, so we'll recruit promising newcomers, invest resources in them, and develop them in-house. Incidentally, we should also link their future prospects with the company's interests. I believe this will definitely be a huge boost to the company. After pondering for a moment, Chen Yang quickly came up with an idea. Then he addressed the senior executives present. Mr. Chen, your idea is excellent, but doing so will inevitably increase the company's costs significantly. Wouldn't that be too risky? Su Heng thought about it for a while and found that the plan was highly feasible. However, if implemented, the human and material costs would be enormous. This will put some pressure on the company's current cash reserves. After all, the company still needs to survive and develop, and it's impossible to stop other projects just for this plan. I'll take care of the money. Your task is to make this event a success and to cultivate more outstanding talents for the company. Any other questions? Chen Yang could see the concerns of the crowd at a glance. Immediately, he announced with an air of dominance. Seeing that Chen Yang had gone this far, the group exchanged glances and immediately shook their heads. No. All right, Mr. Su, please have someone write the proposal now and get the framework sorted out first. Once the detailed plan is approved, send it to me for review. Once I approve it, the event will begin immediately. I will arrange for someone to deposit the funds needed at that time into the company account. After Chen Yang finished speaking, he adjourned the meeting. His decisive and efficient style made everyone realize that this boss was no ordinary person. Especially Su Heng. They not only recognized Chen Yang's abilities, but also felt awe for his background and connections. After leaving Ten Sheng Entertainment Company, Chen Yang got into a business van and headed straight for Qingyang Financial Company. However, on the way, he suddenly received a call from Yiqingya's mother. Strange, why would Aunt Wen call me at this time? Upon seeing this, Chen Yang couldn't help but feel uneasy. He hesitated for a few seconds before answering the phone. Chen Yang, are you free right now? Wen Jai asked Chen Yang in a soft voice. Aunt Wen, of course I'm available when you're looking for me. Chen Yang smiled slightly and replied immediately. Okay, here's an address, come over here now. Wen Jai said. No problem, Aunt Wen, see you in a bit. Chen Yang readily agreed. The call ended quickly. Chen Yang's phone then received a text message with an address on it. Huaxia Bank Building. Captain Yang, we're skipping the company and heading to the Huaxia Bank Building instead. Chen Yang said to Yang Li, who was driving. Okay, boss. Yang Li nodded. The navigation route was then immediately changed. Half an hour later, the van arrived in front of the Huaxia Bank Building. The car door opened, and Chen Yang got out. After standing still, he surveyed the building before him. After a moment, he looked away and walked towards the main entrance. Yang Li and several bodyguards immediately followed behind him. Before long, the group arrived at the hall. Soon, a beautiful female employee in a bank uniform came forward to greet them, leaning slightly forward to perfectly showcase her stunning figure. Sir, what kind of service would you like to conduct? The beautiful female employee could tell at a glance that Chen Yang was either rich or noble. Therefore, her service attitude was exceptionally respectful. Sorry, I don't handle business here. I'm here to see someone. Chen Yang shook his head slightly and said, looking for someone. A hint of doubt flashed in the beautiful employee's eyes. So he patiently asked, Sir, who are you looking for? Ms. Wen Jai. It was her who called and asked me to come over. Chen Yang smiled faintly and said, Wen Jai, this name sounds so familiar. I feel like I've heard it somewhere before. The beautiful female employee secretly wondered to herself. Zinni, have you forgotten? Our bank's vice president is named Wen Jai. Liu Zinni's colleague suddenly came over and whispered a reminder in her ear. Boom! The next moment, Liu Zinni realized why the name Wen Jai sounded so familiar. Previously, her superiors often mentioned this name during meetings and conveyed her instructions. Sir, are you sure you're here to see our bank manager, Mr. Wen? Liu Zinni forced herself to calm down, but her voice still trembled slightly as she asked Chen Yang. Yes, I just spoke to her on the phone. If all else fails, I'll call her and ask her to send someone to pick me up. After Chen Yang finished speaking, before Liu Zinni could react, he took out his phone from his pocket and dialed Wen Jai's number. A few seconds later, the call was connected. Aunt Wen, I'm downstairs now. Chen Yang said with a smile. Okay, then wait here for a moment. I'll send my secretary down to get you now. Wen Jai's voice came from the other end of the phone. Good. Chen Yang obediently replied. The call ended quickly. Liu Zini, who was standing in front of Chen Yang, heard his conversation with Wen Jai. It turns out that the handsome young man in front of me was actually there to see President Wen. Moreover, he addressed Director Wen as Auntie. This suggests that he is very likely a relative of President Wen. Less than 2 minutes. At the elevator entrance, President Wen's personal secretary, Bu Weiying, walked briskly towards Chen Yang's location in high heels. "Mr. Chen, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. My boss asked me to pick you up." The secretary approached Chen Yang, bowed slightly, and spoke in an extremely respectful voice. "All right, lead the way." Chen Yang nodded and replied softly, "This way, please." The secretary turned to the side and gestured for him to enter. Chen Yang strode forward, with his secretary always half a step behind, guiding him to the elevator. I took the leader's private elevator and headed towards the leader's office.